Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tim Pool, and you're listening to the latest episode of Civil War Cast. Because apparently that's the only thing we're ever going to be talking about now that Donald Trump is confirmed to be under criminal investigation for obstruction of justice and violating the Espionage Act. And you've got the, was it a former CIA director, Jack? Former CIA director, Hayden?
CIA and NSA.
Oh, both. Insinuating Trump should be executed. So there was that. And there was a guy from MSNBC who also made the same assertion. And just wow. Wow. Okay.
That's nice.
So we'll talk about that. And then, wow, it's a meme-tastic Friday. So trending on Twitter is there's Donald Trump is accused of sharing the nuclear codes in a fundraising email, and it's fake, obviously. And then Fox News shared a photo of the judge who signed the warrant with Ghislaine Maxwell on the plane, and it's obviously fake, but these people are freaking out. So at least we can have a laugh about that. Well, everything kind of just falls apart. So we will. And a whole lot of other crazy stories. Alex Berenson released a story on a Substack that the White House sought his banning on Twitter. And so he's got the receipts, and this is huge. So, yeah, dark days indeed. Before we get started, my friends, head over to timcast.com. Become a member if you want to support our work. You'll get access to the Timcast members only uncensored show Monday through Thursday at 11 p.m., as well as Tales from the Inverted World. And we're going to have the new, I believe Cast Castle is officially launching next week. And then we've got, it's a weekly series that's going to be a combination of behind the scenes and kind of just like a fictionalized funny take on the culture war and on the work that goes on here. So, you know, there's that. There's also Pop Culture Crisis in Chicken City. Check those shows out. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, share the show with your friends. Joining us today to talk about Civil War is Jack Posobiec.
What's up? Jack Posobiec here, host of Human Events Daily, also senior editor over at humanevents.com. Human Events Daily now also available, Real America's Voice. We're on at 10 p.m. So I asked them, I said, we need to fill that gap in between because Timcast has 8 to 10 and then there's that period and then the 11 o'clock goes up. I want to fill that gap. So we are the Timcast Night Watch over at 10 p.m. Human Events Daily.
At 10 p.m.
10 p.m.
So like you watch the show and then you talk about it's like the
It's pre-recorded.
Oh, okay. I was kidding anyway.
Except for tonight.
But
we're gonna record it here right now.
Yeah, of course. Right.
Exactly.
So Civil War.
Obviously.
Anyway, we have Hannah Claire Brimolo hanging out.
Hey, I'm Hannah Claire. I'm a writer for Timcast.com.
Okay. Hi. Hey, Hannah Claire. You ever go by Hannah, by the way?
No,
Or just
I always go by Hannah
straight
Claire.
up.
Mm-hmm.
Ian Crossan, what's up, dudes? Let's rock and roll.
And Lydia's sick today, unfortunately. So Chris is here.
Hi, I'm Chris. Hey, Chris.
Anyway,
That's enough out of you, Chris.
Here's the story. Yo,
Big mouth on Chris. God.
Yeah, he
look,
talks a
guys.
lot. He's always got
Earlier
something
today,
really
Cut the mic.
I'm reading this Alex Berenson thing about how the White House basically instructed or demanded his suspension. And I'm like, wow, this is a huge story. And then all of a sudden I see people talking about like, hey, you see the former head of the CIA calling for Trump's execution? And I was like, what? And so I looked up, I was like, okay, he's not really calling for it. He's just saying it should happen, basically. And so I'm just kind of out of it. Like, last night someone mentioned that Joe Rogan said on the show, he thought I was crazy when I said Civil War was coming. And now he thinks I'm right. And so they sent the clip to me and I played it earlier on my morning show. And it's just kind of like, what Jack called it, like Tim Pool is right night or whatever. I don't know what you were saying.
Tim Pool is right week.
Right week. Yeah, but you know, it's just like, it's easy to call it things that you get right. I got a lot of things wrong. Make that clear. But here's the story. Trump is under investigation for violating the Espionage Act after FBI recovered 11 sets of classified documents from Mar-a-Lago. Full warrant is unsealed, but ex-president insists he declassified everything, which he can. And so I thought they said he was got the nuclear documents. What happened to that story, Washington Post? What are they saying now? It's a broad search warrant. It's not. The search warrant says all documents for the entirety of his presidency.
So the piece that we have here, and humanevents.com actually dropped this an hour before anybody else today. When we got our copy of it. Remember, the story has changed every single day of the week, because at one point it was the Newsweek piece, and the Newsweek piece says 2 high-level justice officials tell us they're authorized to tell Newsweek that the Department of Justice had absolutely nothing to do with this raid, that it was all the FBI, it was completely driven by them, it was Wray, these guys out of DC, these numbskulls, they were the ones behind it. And even though and they just grudgingly admit way down at the bottom of the Newsweek article that, and by the way, of course, there is a grand jury in DC that's, looking up to indict the former president for crimes, but don't worry about that. And then Garland comes out the next day and says it actually was him who authorized the raid. Then the night before, we're told, but what does Garland say to us? Garland says to us, it was narrow in scope. Okay, narrow in scope. Immediately he walks off stage. He's this deranged, he's like 5'6". I called him a deranged eunuch. And we get the leak to the Washington Post. The Washington Post says nuclear codes. Right.
Nuclear documents.
Nuclear
documents. They said, we don't know if it's pertaining to weapons in the United States or elsewhere.
Right.
So it's like they didn't know actually what it was.
Well, and here's the thing, right? Kind of the no cap response to that is that obviously the nuclear codes get changed on a very it's very frequent basis.
Could you imagine if it's like, I'm no longer the president for over a year now, but we're not going to change the launch codes.
Change the locks. He's in the front room.
This is the big meme on sort of like MAGA Twitter right now, is that it's now we've gone from nuclear or ultra MAGA to nuclear MAGA. So that's right. Trump never gave up the nuclear codes. He's got him down there at Mar-a-Lago. Baron Trump is gathering the fissile material. He's got four nuclear turbines already. He's working towards 10. They're targeting Rehoboth Beach, all the rest of it. So the memes have just been flying, absolutely flying. And unlike the missiles, which are not flying, hopefully, though we'll keep an eye on all that. But no, they said that it was narrow in scope. But then when I posted the documents this afternoon, I said, wait a minute, it says right here, all documents from the president's archives from January 20th, 2017 all the way to January 20th, 2021. Well, that's the entire scope of his presidency. So that's why you're seeing things in this inventory sheet, which we also posted, that say things like the Roger Stone pardon is in there, or like letters between himself and Emmanuel Macron. That's every single document.
It's a fishing expedition.
But that's okay because the judge that signed off on this is one of the best judges in the country, just definitely not connected to any scandals.
Well, he did a really good job helping Epstein's lieutenants.
He did a wonderful job. Well, it was interesting because here's what happened. Okay, he started as an Epstein prosecutor. And then in the course of prosecuting Epstein, he realized that it was a wrongful prosecution and that he had to help out and do the right thing, not for himself, Tim, but for the good of the country.
And the good of Epstein.
And the victims.
He resigns from the U.S. This is dead serious. Resigns from the U.S. Attorney's office and then goes to work for Epstein's organization, represents...
Not Jack.
Represents the pilots, represents the lieutenants order to help save them.
Freedom of speech. Those actions represent America.
Basically, he's basically the new John Adams.
What is this? So they raided Trump's
house.
He's
wait. And now he's a judge.
What was the justification for this search warrant, though, then?
We still don't have it. We actually still don't have it.
The warrant was like, give us everything.
So here, okay. So here's, joking aside, here's the serious part of it. There is another missing piece to this, and that's the answer to your question, because you're reading this thing and we were looking at the 7 pages of the warrant and the property inventory, and you're saying, well, wait, where's the so what? Why can we just authorize FBI agents to go do this, right? And so there's supposed to be an affidavit, and the affidavit is what's given to the judge to get him to authorize the search warrant. We don't have that yet. They haven't released it.
Jack, Civil War.
I mean, and Tim, here's like, don't sell yourself short, right? Because when you're talking for as many hours a week as we do, right? We're bound to get a lot wrong. We're bound to make misstatements. We're bound to just have predictions that don't pan out, etc. But your big prediction of where all of this was going over the last 5-6 years, you've always said this is headed towards civil war.
And maybe tomorrow Joe Biden comes out crying and says, I'm stopping this charade. Donald Trump is a good man, and we cannot allow the weaponization of the DOJ. I hereby resign. And then everyone cheers, and Biden supporters.
That's not what I'm hearing.
Pink hats are hugging MAGA hats in the street. People are they throw them in the air together.
What's that meme of like BLM and MAGA, like, fist bumping
for the better? Yeah.
No, that's not what I'm hearing at all. In fact, what I'm hearing out of DC is that you're hearing a lot of Democrats are going to the White House saying, okay, the way to fix this is to lean into it, because what they're from this line of thinking, which might sound completely crazy. And by the way, Joe Biden's down there in South Carolina. He's definitely not going to Jekyll Island, by the way. That's nothing, which nothing ever happened there. And, and they're saying that you have to lean in because since you raided him, right, now it looks political. But if you indict him, then it looks like you're just following the facts. And so you have to actually go through with it. Right, as if they had a plan all along because it was an actual crime. And so they're actually people advising President Biden right now to indict Donald J. Trump. And just if you look at as caustic of a situation that this country's been in for the last 6 years, even for the last 6 months, right? I think we all could just pull back and, take off the red hat, take off the pin, whatever hat, and just say, that's probably not a good place we want to take people into.
So this episode of the Rogan podcast comes out last night, and someone super chatted us saying Joe said he thought Tim was crazy. Now he thinks he's right. And what I didn't realize until this morning, I was like, wait a minute, they pre-record those shows.
Right.
Joe didn't even know at the time of recording that some dude went to an FBI building and tried to bust through the bulletproof glass, shooting at FBI agents before fleeing and being killed. When he recorded that segment, that had not happened.
It hadn't even happened yet.
And so it's kind of crazy because I'm wondering what's going through Joe's mind now with that news hitting. After he said this a few days ago, he's probably thinking like, well, I was right about thinking Tim was right now, right? Because that's a whole new level of crazy. Of course, people on the right think this was a false flag. Look, I understand exactly why people believe it. And I'll put it this way. The fact that people believe this guy in Cincinnati was a false flag shows, and it's widespread too, like hardcore Trump supporters across the board are like, no way that's real. Just goes to show the disdain and distrust for the federal government, especially with, what we saw with Ray Epps. So people are just not ready to believe.
Well, and you're following the Whitmer case because that's coming out right now, the next iteration of it. And Julie Kelly has been doing such great work on this. And they're having to admit in court that FBI agents or FBI assets were planting explosives in the trunk of cars. You had another FBI informant, and I'm just following Julie's reporting. They said the FBI informant was not only staying in the same hotel as the target, not only staying in the same hotel room, but yes, as you can imagine, she was sleeping in the same bed as the target. So just full on, not just honeypot operations like the Eric Swalwell style with Fang Fang. No. This is honeypot operations to trick you into actually committing domestic terrorism acts and then prosecuting you.
I want to jump to this next story here from the National Review. Sounds about right. Ex-CIA chief Michael Hayden implies Trump should be executed for taking classified documents. So, Jack, Civil War?
Yeah, again, you've got people like Michael Hayden, General Michael Hayden, head of the CIA, someone who's actually had people executed, right, overseas in drone strikes, going ahead and just using that same type of language. Meanwhile, by the way, the right is we're being told we have to tone down our rhetoric because of this guy in Cincinnati. But you got the general out there saying this. Michael Hayden is saying it from the CIA, from the FBI. How many weeks has it been since Justice Kavanaugh and his family were nearly shot to death by a crazy left-wing Redditor who had in his backpack flex cuffs and duct tape. He had a 9mm Glock on him. And this was the same guy who had posted, you saw they pulled his internet searches, right?
Oh, yeah. And he was looking for other.
He was looking for other justices. And then he also Googled how to be stealthy, assassin skills, and where best place to stab someone.
Wow. I was actually assuming that it was going to be like mixed in there. It was going to be something like about, beautiful women in your area or something like that.
Actually, yes. So
there was.
He posted on Reddit and came out as MTF and was looking for someone to cuddle with on I forget exactly which subreddit it was, but was posting in those chats that looking for a cuddle, said, "Hey, I'm really into movies and I'm looking for someone who's also into movies and I just want to cuddle. It's like Friends, but it's kind of my own thing that I'm working on."
Everybody needs a good cuddle. Come on.
100%.
MTF is male to female.
That's right.
Okay.
All right. So here's what Michael Beschloss tweeted. He tweeted, Rosenbergs were convicted of giving U.S. nuclear secrets to Moscow and were executed June 1953. And a bunch of these outlets like media was like, they never actually said anything about Trump in the tweet.
He's just sharing some fun facts.
And then if you look at his series of tweets, which he like says a bunch of stuff, then tweets this and says a bunch of stuff, it's all like Trump may have given secrets out or something like that. Or what if Trump gave an adversary nuclear codes?
Well, so before we get too far down the rabbit hole on this, just from a basic overall standpoint, that doesn't apply to the executive. That doesn't apply to the commander in chief. So Trump, and we were talking about this before we came on air, but Trump, when he was the president, Joe Biden currently, Barack Obama when he was president, for all presidents, right? They have plenary declassification authority. The same way that he has plenary pardon power, which I actually tweeted this morning that, the people who said that Trump should have pardoned, don't pardon Assange, don't pardon Snowden, don't pardon Ulbricht. Why? Because then you might have trouble with the DOJ. Yeah, look how that worked out, right? So, but by the same token, he can declassify whatever he wants, whenever he wants, because he is the authority. Right? There's no authority over him for that.
Imagine Donald Trump goes to meet with Vladimir Putin, and he's trying to negotiate demilitarization, nuclearization.
Which has been U.S.-Russia policy for 50 years.
So he goes to Putin and says, look, I'd love to tell you about how we're going to de-escalate, but it's all classified. I can't negotiate with you. Like, what? The president literally has to negotiate with the president of other countries about nuclear
all the time
weapons.
Right. This has been going back to Reagan, Gorbachev, going back to Carter, the SALT treaties. I mean, this obviously they're going to be discussing nuclear weapons posture because that's a JFK and the Cuban Missile Crisis, right. And then the missiles that we had in Turkey. That was like the secret agreement to pull those back.
It would be funny if they retroactively go back in time and charge all presidents with treason for discussing our weapons stockpile.
So you're saying we should convict JFK?
Yeah, back in time.
Dig up his corpse. If it's available. Didn't his head disappear, his brain disappear or something after he was killed? There was like a theory that his brain went missing because it was too much evidence about how he got hit. They said it was one bullet in the back of the head, but they're like, actually, it was multiple bullets. But we can't find his brain, so
I don't know how any person will be able to take chunks of brain and be like, this was more than one bullet.
Yeah, Pearl Jam wrote "Brains of Jay." It's a song of theirs off of Yield, all about that.
Anyway,
who's got the brains of JFK?
When we're at the point where you have an MSNBC host, NBC staffer, historian, and a former CIA director insinuating Trump should face execution.
Well, what's the story here? So he says,
by the way, could you imagine if me and Charlie Kirk get up at a Turning Point event and we just start talking about Dr. Fauci and Joe Biden, Hunter, any of the Bidens, anyone with a Biden name with this type of language? Right, we're done. We'd be completely done. We'd probably be arrested by the time we got off stage.
January 26, 2021, Marjorie Taylor Greene indicated support for executing prominent Democrats in 2018 and 2019 before running for Congress.
There you go.
All this indicated and suggests potentially that crap. Like what?
Suggests potentially that.
Before we go into her, I mean, we could look at her stuff too. But what did the guy say that said he implied that he may? I saw a quote that said like that may be cool or whatever he said.
Sounds about right.
Sounds about right, and it's all out of context, and it's like implied that
it's not out of context.
Like what did he say?
Michael Beschloss has a thread where he's like, "What if Donald Trump was selling our nuclear secrets?" Then the news came out from Washington Post, which was basically fake news, saying they were looking for nuclear documents, and he said, "I'm re-upping this tweet." Then he said,
"Wait. So he tweeted that before the article?"
Yes.
Oh wow.
He tweeted before the article came out.
Wow.
Then after the article came out, he said, I'm re-upping my tweet here to highlight this. Yeah. Don't want to be overly speculative. Made some other comments about Donald Trump and nuclear documents, then posted this, and then posted more about how imperative we must get the search warrant to understand what they were looking for. Basically saying, before the article came out, Donald Trump may have had nuclear web codes or secrets, and he may have been selling them. Oh no, this story suggesting he did. We executed people who did that before. We better get that search warrant now.
And then the CIA guy said...
Sounds about right.
But like in what context? Did he put it on the Twitter thread or did he...
He added the thread saying sounds about right.
Yeah.
But what is he talking? See, I don't know. What is he talking about?
Which, by the way, that was actually.
Look.
By the way, the Rosenberg. That was the building. Because back in the 1950s, the ability to build nuclear weapons was a closely guarded U.S. secret, and only we had it. Obviously, it was a huge advantage of us over the Soviet Union, and for the Soviets, even after they got it later, it was a huge advantage for them over communist China. It's one of the reasons that led to the Sino-Soviet split, because the Soviets never wanted Chairman Mao to have nuclear weapons, but then they get it anyway. The U.S. exacerbates this, et cetera, et cetera. But the Rosenbergs, the whole point was that they were selling how to build nuclear weapons, which is totally different than just saying, hey, we've got 6,000, but we'll break it down to 5,000 if we can sign this treaty. And,
Also, I mean, if Trump had nuclear codes, they were defunct. They were from a year ago. And what would giving ancient nuclear codes to someone do? Because they have different codes now.
Why would he? It's just.
Do you know about Trump's red button?
No.
Have you guys heard the story? The red
I saw
button?
the meme of the button being smashed.
No, but so when Trump was
did
president,
it lock the door when women walked in his office?
No, he didn't work for MSNBC.
Lauer.
Matt Lauer, right? And then so Trump had a red button on his desk when he was president, and that button was attached to a wooden box, and he would have people into his office, and the Oval Office, and when they were having the meeting, he would just in the middle of the meeting just randomly go, "Oh, sorry, no, I know everybody's looking at that button. No, nobody wants me to put that button here. I'm just going to push it away," and he'd push it away from himself on the desk.
Is this and then Trump pushes the button,
and then just like slides it away, and then he's like, "No, don't worry about the button. Don't worry, it's just there." And then he would go back, and you were saying, and they'd all be because he would know that they'd still all be like totally fixated on the button. And then every once in a while, he might just kind of lean over, and then he just kind of like tap it. And then everybody's freaking out in the middle, but they're not trying to say anything because it's the Oval Office. You have to have the decorum, etc. And then eventually what would happen is a side door would open up, and then somebody would walk in with a Diet Coke for him. And that's what it was. It was to order a Diet Coke.
Is that real?
Dead serious.
No.
Dead serious.
Get a Diet Coke button in the Oval.
Go pull it up. Oh. Dead serious.
I feel like Tim is now like, what am I going to get? What's my button going to be?
Tim's like, I want a red button. What would you have for your red button, Tim? New beanies?
A bottle of water, maybe.
Bottle of water.
I got my water. I can get it myself. I don't really need one.
Coconut water?
No. I don't know. Maybe some bacon or that.
We should get Ian a graphene button made out of graphene.
Okay. You press a button.
Yes.
And they bring up 2 pieces of crispy bacon. Not too crispy, but crispy enough.
Do you like it blackened? Do you like it charred?
No. I like it. Like the fatty parts should be fatty, but the rest should be pretty good. I don't
so
like
you can fold it and kind of get it together.
I don't like it disintegrating, but I like it just right before.
Regarding bacon fat, like what's a healthy amount of daily bacon fat?
As much as possible.
But like just from one strip?
I pour the whole thing into my eggs.
Yeah, you should.
And look how much weight I lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's been a couple of weeks since I was here, but even from then to now, you've definitely lost weight.
Interesting.
And I've done it by pouring bacon grease into my eggs.
Eat fat, get fit.
And your eyes.
Eat fat, get fit.
I really want you to write a diet book now, just about bacon fat and the wonderful powers of bacon fat.
Huge thing of butter. I put a 4th cup of cream into my coffee.
Real butter.
Farm butter.
Better be real butter.
Yes. I can't describe the smell. It is like when you cook with store-bought butter and then you go buy farm butter, it's insane. The smell is so dramatically different.
You realize you've been lied to your entire life.
Yeah, it's like waking up for the first time and you're like,
you're right.
It's almost like water, that farm butter. It's so pure and clean.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing.
It's like when I'm in Eastern Europe, we were in Poland and or from visiting Tanya's family. It's like that's what everything's like over there. They don't
food.
It's just real food.
Having milk in Europe was crazy. It tastes so different.
Yeah, it's so rich.
Real.
It's so rich.
Let's
and the deal with the deal with the fat though. I mean, we can't go overlook that. The fact that fat has been lied about so many years in this country.
Fake news.
By the industry, but the fake news of, you want to talk fake news, let's talk about the food pyramid, right?
Yeah.
So this is, and anytime I get a chance to talk about this, it's just, they've been lying to you. They've been lying to you for 50 years about fat.
Bread and grain and pasta, they wanted you to eat that as the primary source of your diet. That is freakish.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. I got that all growing up, that propaganda. I thought
we
you were
all did.
supposed
We all
to
did.
eat
We all
wheat.
did. It was that and that acid rain and quicksand were like everywhere.
Yeah, apparently I saw a new article said that rain on Earth is no longer safe to drink. because of microplastic. I don't know what they're called. PFCT.
I'm just like, dude, get out of cities.
Hey, regarding
get out of cities.
Regarding Civil War,
butter is better outside of the city. You have to leave.
No, hold on, real quick. I'll throw it to Ian real quick. There's a farm near us, and they have a little farm stand. And you walk up, and they give you butter. They did themselves. They put it in the thing. They seal it. They hand it to you. It's amazing. Couple bucks. It's like, and it will. Your mind is blown by how delicious this butter is.
Joanne's been making butter. Did she tell you about it?
My mom
got a butter churner.
That's
right. I kind of want to get a butter churn.
Yeah. You were going to say something about Civil War.
Well, yeah. Whether or not it's a civil war, I think is semantic.
One side knows how to make the butter.
One side knows how to make the butter. One side doesn't. One side wins.
Eating sugar,
hey, guns and butter, right? Guns and butter.
I've been thinking lately that it's more of a 5th generation world war, and that what I'm concerned about is that they're going to use the United States as the proxy, and it's going to be an Asian versus European war, and they're going to just let it happen here, and they'd be happy to see us go. They'd be happy to see this country get leveled, get taken over, get dissipated, whatever.
Well, China doesn't want us destroyed the same way they don't want Taiwan destroyed, because we're their market, right? We're their consumers. You must consume. So if they lose the United States, and yeah, they're certainly building in with Europe, and they're making their inroads all over the place in Europe. But you lose the United States, you lose your biggest customer.
Yeah, but rebuilding would be in desperate straits, and we'd need to buy that steel from someone if we had to rebuild too. I know what you mean, though. I don't think anyone really wants the infrastructure blown up or anything. But I think ultimately, England, we think of them as our friends. France is our friends. But in the heat of the moment, I think they're all going to look at the United States and be like, you know what, warmonger, you're on your own. And if we need to fight China in Kansas, we're going to fight China in Kansas.
Let me jump to the story from Twitter, actually. They have this running in their What's Happening tab, and it exemplifies perfectly that the Civil War may actually be people of cognitive ability and people of limited cognitive ability. Because this Twitter says, manipulated image of fundraising email from former President Trump contained fake nuclear codes, fact checkers report. If you needed a fact checker to tell you that Donald Trump did not email the nuclear codes to people, then you are in the latter faction I have just mentioned. This is actually quite amazing. Let me pull this up from Newsweek, because there's a very prominent leftist podcast. I think Mueller, she wrote, is the left podcast. New. Donald is fundraising by giving us nuclear codes. This is an effing joke to him. Now I know. They understand Trump is doing a gag, but this is not even real. They thought, they believed it. They didn't believe that Trump was actually getting out nuclear codes, but this is a meme. The nuke codes are 15, 25, 50, so 80. Good. Can I count on you to donate $15, $25, $50, $80? Amazing.
Do you want? If you make it recurring, we can nuke Beijing tonight.
Is this like not real as in someone photoshopped that and then put it out, or is it not real as in it was a joke from...
No, because a manipulated image.
No, I know how I can tell you that that's a manipulated image, because that's not what Trump fundraising emails look like. Have you seen these things?
They're all saying the FBI is coming for me. Give me money.
Yeah, they're all like, what is wrong with you? Why haven't you signed in yet for this month? Why haven't you? It's these high pressure tactics, and I don't know why, but for some reason it's actually gross. It's actually gross.
I'm not a fan,
and I don't like it at all. And they need to stop it.
I get fundraising emails from some, and it's like unpaid balance.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, dude, I will delete you.
It's crazy. Yeah, they're just like, and you realize that they're just preying on certain people. They're just straight up preying on people.
It's just. I'll tell you what's crazy. Independent. Fox News airs edited photo of Trump raid judge with Ghislaine Maxwell.
Because they can't just say meme. Edited photo.
It says what I meme to say. And was Fox News making a gag? Is that what was happening?
Well, I do want to point out here that they didn't edit in the Easy Time and the Oreos. Those are actually in the photo of the Epstein judge. That's actually real. That's obviously actually Ghislaine Maxwell, but in reality, this is a photo of Epstein and her rubbing Epstein's feet. What they've done here is take out Epstein, I guess his torso, and replace that with the judge that was Epstein's lawyer, that before was Epstein's prosecutor, and then, yeah.
Hannity says, I think it's actually a picture of Jeffrey Epstein with somebody putting the judge's head on there, I'm guessing. I don't know.
No, it's not just his head. That's the point, though.
No, but on Fox News, they weren't saying like, look at this stunning image of the judge. They were like, look at this photo. Is that's Hannity? I'm sorry. He's like, that's Epstein, isn't it? It's
okay, so Kilmeade was, I didn't actually watch it, but from the article, it looks like, because Kilmeade was guest hosting for Tucker,
yeah,
and Tulsi guest hosted the night before.
Oh, wow.
And in the handoff, Kilmeade is keeping the joke going. So he's saying, I don't know, that looks like the plane. That looks like it. And Hannity's doing his whole... Well, you saw... I'm sorry, but when Hannity was like, I used to say it was 99% of the FBI was good, but maybe that's down to 95%. Come on, man.
Is he still saying that?
95. He just said it this week. 95% of the... Dude, take off the CIA pin. Just... Come on, man.
Did you see the Jimmy Dore, Nina Turner thing?
Oh, yeah.
And then you saw the Brianna Joy Gray thing. So for those that aren't familiar, you've got...
I saw the Jimmy Dore thing.
Jimmy Dore is basically saying, if the right is now coming out and saying the FBI is corrupt, we should embrace that and say, yes, thank you, welcome to the fight. And I'm like, exactly. And then you have, I think it's Brianna Joy Gray, she's on The Hill, right?
Yeah.
She said basically the same thing, that we all think the FBI is corrupt. If the right is now saying the same thing, we've won. Like, okay, let's move forward.
Let's agree, right.
Yeah. But then you had Nina Turner, who was like, just ragging on Jimmy, calling him, right-wing and racist or whatever.
See, I used to like Nina Turner because she used to call out like the Joe Biden Democrats back in the day, kind of from the Bernie Sanders camp. And then it seems like she has like some show now or something, and now she just won't do that.
She was responding to Jimmy. Maybe we can pull up this Twitter thread at some point with identitarian politics, like something about.
Jimmy's attacking a black woman.
Yeah, black woman. I'm a woman. But when you look at the full thread, Jimmy started that by saying a leftist something. So he identified.
No.
Yeah, he played identity politics with her.
Jimmy,
and then she responded with it.
Jimmy pointing out that the left has typically been anti-FBI, but now aren't, is different from saying you attacked me because of my race.
But that's identitarian, calling someone leftist. Like when you start off a conversation with them.
It's not.
Yeah, it is. You're giving them an identity. And
he's saying like that's their position. Like you have to be able to say like a group of people. He's not saying you're a terrible lefty because you think this.
Like,
well, not about
bringing
it's not
in
a
her
criticism of it. It's not, just you're identifying them as a part of a group.
But that's not what identitarianism is. Identitarian is identity-based governance, right?
Well, I mean, you could have identitarian governance, or you could just have identitarianism. Like all the black shirts, all the gray shirts.
That's not what it means.
But that's ideological. That's not identitarian.
Ian, I would just strongly recommend you just look up what identitarianism is, because you are just absolutely...
You're talking about like big I identitarianism governance? Is that what you're talking about? Because you can be an identitarianist without being involved in politics.
Okay, identitarian specifically refers to the physical attributes of your identity and governance based on such. Saying someone's of the left.
Well, or mental. I mean, mental attributes, physical and mental attributes. Yeah.
What you identify as. So it typically refers to like.
Yeah. See, identitarianism is a pan-European nationalist far-right political ideology. I'm not talking about the political ideology.
Now you're reading the politicized like left argument.
Right. The big I identitarianism movement.
Okay.
Apparently, that's a real movement.
This is anyway.
Anyway, Jimmy started off by calling her a leftist,
which is not identitarianism.
Which is not. That's just political.
Wholly disagree with you guys.
But you're wrong.
But what you're saying is like, if I were to say the entire state of Wisconsin has been calling for years to defund the FBI, that would be like saying that's identitarianism, which it's not.
Aha, like, Wisconsinites.
Yeah.
Like, anti-Wisconsinites.
I don't understand. No, Wisconsin is good. I have nothing opposed to it.
I love Wisconsin, by the way. Cheese curds, baby.
That's
if I was like, all the ladies, you get stand up, that's identitarianism.
No.
Of course it is. You're judging someone by a piece of their identity.
It's not judging them. It's just saying this group of people.
It's just I think you're mixing up identitarianism with just identifying.
Yeah,
just
I don't think
the
you
verb
understand.
of identifying.
Identitarian is identity plus government.
Right.
Well, you're talking about the big I movement?
No,
because that is a movement.
No. That's what the word means.
You're gonna have to pull that up and show me definition-wise, because
I would encourage you to research this before making a political point that doesn't.
I'm not making a political point.
The issue was that Jimmy Dore said she used the lowest of identity politics to attack him, because he said the left has always opposed the FBI. We should be embracing the right when they say this, and Brianna Joy Gray said Marjorie Taylor Greene is right, and I'm like, here, sounds like some logic and some moral principles to me. And then Nina Turner was just like, Jimmy Dore is insulting a black woman.
This is the dynamic you've seen between like MAGA and the left and sort of like the populist left for so many times. Because it's always like you'll get a couple people from both sides start flirting with one another. And then you'll have people like Jimmy Dore come along and say, hey, wait a minute, we agree with what you're saying. Or Hawk Newsom, when he got up at the MAGA rally, it was like the mother of all rallies in DC. I think it was 2018. I was there. And he said, look, you guys are against corrupt politicians. We're against corrupt cops. Could you agree with us on that? And people started cheering, said, yeah, of course, right? And so you'll have these moments where people start kind of flirting with each other in sort of the two populist camps. And then along will come somebody from the establishment or doing the work of the establishment and saying, hey, you guys need to break that up right now.
Yeah, but it tends to be that, like Nina Turner in this instance, right? As the establishment.
You're concern trolling. Right? You're straight up concern trolling.
But the problem is you end up with people who embrace, like on the left, they end up believing this nonsense. Like the nuclear documents thing was widely believed by these establishment shills. And it was not true. Or to the extent that it was not true is the search warrant was broad. It was for literally all documents. So to claim they were looking for nuclear documents, okay, I can argue they were looking for dogs. The document said anything relating to Trump's presidency.
Yep.
So I could have written a story saying the FBI was searching for information about the cats that Trump had talked about. Well, yeah, because I'm sure at some point he did, and it's in the record somewhere he mentioned a cat. That's a stupid story. It's nonsense. They all believe it. And so I'm just sitting there and I'm like, these are the people who believe Jussie Smollett. Okay, I don't take my political cues from them. And that's, so when you get the two populist factions and they're like, hey, we agree on these things. And then all of a sudden an establishment person comes up to break it up and they say something nonsensical like Jussie Smollett and the left believes it. It's like, okay, dude, look.
Or kind of like when
I don't know how you bring the sides together when you've got one side who's going to believe that.
Or kind of like when you had a TV show on CNN called Crossfire where Tucker Carlson and somebody from the left could sit down and argue, but at least they were talking.
That was at CNN?
I believe it was CNN.
Wow. Yeah.
And then Jon Stewart comes on and starts yelling at both of them for having a discussion. And then 20 years later, somebody has to go and confront Jon Stewart in the street and say, John, if you want this burn pits bill done, we got to work together. Will you shake my hand? And he did.
Yeah, he was yelling at you. That was crazy.
He was not happy with me at first.
What did you say to him? The first thing you said, like, what did you say to him?
I said
you're short.
I said no. I did not say he was short. I didn't attack him. Tucker did. Tucker said many things about it, but Tucker and he have a different history than he and I do. I had never met him before, and the Jon Stewart thing was I went up to him and I was recording, but I was not live. And I just wanted to have a record so that, nobody could accuse me of doing something I didn't do. And Raheem Kassam was there. And I said, look, you're attacking and smearing all the Republicans as being against this burn pits bill. You're saying you're against the Republicans. And the context is there was, and it has been passed now and signed into law, this bill for benefits for veterans who were injured by the burn pits. And the burn pits were, funny enough, classified material, was being burned because when you're not the president, you have to dispose of this. But if you're in the field, it's not like you can follow some specific process. You just got to get rid of it and then move on. So hence burn pits. I had people even in my unit that would come back from Afghanistan. Girl I knew came back from Afghanistan because of the black smoke that would come out of this stuff. Nails started falling out, fingernails, toenails, hair was coming out in clumps. Just, it does stuff to your head. I've got another buddy who's had issues with his lungs. If he goes over a certain altitude, he has trouble flying on airplanes and stuff. So it's bad. It's very bad. But Jon Stewart was running around at first doing this huge media tour saying Republicans hate the vets, and that's why they won't vote for this thing. When in reality, if you look what the Republicans were saying, people like Ted Cruz and Pat Toomey, I'm not even a fan of Pat Toomey. He's my senator, right? And they were saying, look, the CBO score came back and said, there's this $400 billion discrepancy between the House and the Senate bills, and we want to deal with that, right? And that's not what Stewart was saying. And so I went to him and I said, look, John, you're so close on getting this bill done. Will you sit down and meet with Ted Cruz or any of these guys? Maybe I can even help facilitate that with, whatever phone numbers I have in my Rolodex to make that happen. And I don't think he heard me because he saw me and he, recognized me and was like, oh, well, this is that guy from Twitter that doesn't like me. So he just went off. He just started completely going off. And that's what you saw on CNN. And then later on, what was really interesting, though, is, and to his credit, right? I stayed back. I talked to a bunch of people. Tim Jensen, dude from Grunt Style. We chatted for a while. And then John saw us talking and said, well, hey, I like this guy. And if he likes Jack, maybe I can go talk to him. So Jon Stewart comes back up to me and has this kind of said, hey, man, I'm sorry about that. I thought you were trolling me. I wasn't really listening to what you were saying. I was just kind of responding to what I thought you were saying. And, if you want to work together to get this bill done, let's do it. And I said, that's great, John. And you said that to me now in person. But before you said all that stuff on camera. So would you do a video with me so that people can understand that we're going to work together? And he did. To his credit, he did.
This is the problem right here. Can we pull this up? Ground.news, Jon Stewart's bias.
Oh, this is perfect.
59% left. It's not all that bad. I mean, Jon does get some conservative, some right-leaning news in there.
He goes on Fox. He goes on Newsmax.
And he praised Trump when Trump was it was the 9/11 first responders, I believe. Trump was working on getting relief.
He's talked about the Wuhan lab. He's talked about that.
Oh yeah. So I think it's really interesting that you can see the integrity of an individual in their biased fact checker. Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
Jon Stewart, it's like he yelled at you abruptly, and then you had to break through that barrier, but you guys eventually shook hands and found something there.
We did.
And it's like, you look at his biased blind spotter on Ground News, and 59% left-leaning, and his attitude and behavior is like 59% left-leaning. You know what I mean?
Just enough to let it go.
Right. Just enough where he like actually does pull back a little bit and have that conversation with you. I was looking at a tweet from Stephen Marsh, who we've had on the show. He's the guy who wrote the book, The Next Civil War, I think it's called. And he said something to the effect of like, being pro-police but anti-FBI, how will the right phrase this one? And then I sent him a link to an article, and I'm like, the right has been ragging on police since COVID.
Right. Yeah. No, COVID and when the churches and all that. Yeah.
And then I showed him his blind spotter bias. It's like 80% left, no conservative news. I was like, bro, get out of your bubble. It invariably, when I see these people saying these things that are just wrong, their media consumption is always dominated by the left.
Do you think moderate is also a bubble? Because mine is like 80% white, 80% moderate, or something like that. And I wonder if I'm in a bubble as well. Because
no, you're just outside of politics.
Well, doesn't this also? So mine's totally skewed, right? Because I work with Post-Millennial and Human Events, so I'm sharing their events, their articles
Libby
more.
said the same thing.
Right.
So her own links.
That doesn't mean that's the only thing I'm reading.
No, of course.
Yeah,
it's not perfect.
So it, I feel like it's kind of skewed. So yeah, I'm posting that, and you see Post-Millennial, Human Events are my top 3 sources, but in many cases, I'm either editing those articles or working on those articles, and yeah, I'm definitely going to be biased towards ones that I.
Hey, look at that!
Hey, very nice. Look at you.
No, look at that left bias.
Look at you, leftist. Look at you, leftist.
What is this? Timcast is a top 3 news source.
All right.
And Tribal, I don't know what Tribal is for.
Right, my point is,
look at my
your top news source is not Timcast.
Michael.
Is
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
No, my top source is Timcast.
Right. But no, I'm saying for you as a person, is that your top news source?
A little bit, but I wouldn't say top. I don't know if I have a top news source.
I was thinking it may be Twitter.
And that's my point.
Can you consider Twitter a news source?
I think Timcast should be your top news source. It's a really great site.
But
Timcast is too slow for me.
Oh.
But it is. That's why I'm posting stories.
No, I actually think this. So somebody asked me this once in an interview, and they said, "What's your top news source?" And I just said, "I don't have a top news source. I follow topics." And they didn't know what I meant. And I was like, well, if I just see something trending or if there's something I'm interested in, I just type it into the search bar on Twitter and I see what's going on. So if I want to know about, there's a whole Mexican cartel war going on right now down in Jalisco, then it's never trending, but you can just go to Twitter right now and type it in and go watch a bunch of videos from it. People getting shot up in Little Caesars and just crazy video. AutoZone. But it's not. But I'm not sharing it. It just happens to be something I'm interested in because it's crazy.
Citizen journalists, is it usually people with like
a lot of it's citizen journalists? Yeah, and so my point being though is that I'm not going to an outlet for that. I'm just following it on Twitter.
I was thinking last time maybe Twitter is an outlet because I'll even see in like news articles they'll quote Twitter posts.
Section 230, baby.
And they're like uninhibited. They can do whatever they want. They can guide the news. They can say this story is not going to show up on Twitter. If you search for it, this one's going to go to the top of the algorithm.
Twitter is a source because there's tons of journalists that are just on Twitter.
Exactly.
So I follow a bunch of people that are like field reporters and stuff like that. They're on Twitter. I get breaking news because I'm on that platform.
But this doesn't show Twitter as.
But that doesn't show that, right?
Media poly.
Oh, right. It doesn't show who you follow and things. It shows you based on, I think there's a couple different organizations that rate the leaning of various news organizations, and then Ground News applies that to their blind spotter or whatever. But I think if you were to even look at my bias, 40% left, 25 center, 27 right, I think most people would probably agree with that in how I act. You know what I mean? Like
that is pretty close for you.
Right. Like not diehard Trumper, but sometimes being like, well, I don't know, right?
Yeah, I got a hard time pegging down your political things. You just seem kind of like general, but I mean, you talk more about people what you would consider on the right or in the conservative movement for whatever reason. I don't know, but like,
is that just more interesting?
Is that because of where you found yourself in life, or was it easier to work with people like that? What kind of pushed you in that direction?
I don't know. I mean, like, I'm Catholic. That's kind of where I come from, but that has nothing to do with my news. That's also one of the reasons that I think that, sort of the libertarian movement, while it seemed interesting to me, I could never quite, go fully into it because that's just not where I come from. And when I look at people on the right, and really 2016 is just kind of what blew that up. And at that point, it wasn't even about right or left. It was just who's telling the truth, right? Who's actually just going up there and saying, is this a movement of the people versus DC, or is it, is it just a typical election of left versus right? And where you argue, no, obviously not, right? This is a populist movement, and that's the side I'm always going to be on.
I got really turned off by the Democratic establishment after 2016. That was hard to watch, what they did to Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, so we would go out there at the DNC with Jill Stein, with the Bernie people, and we covered all that stuff. And I covered that with just as much attention as I did anything on the right, too.
Jack, I have a question for you. Let me just, I'm taking a note real quick.
Jesus or Moses?
No, my question is, have you ever met Elizabeth
Would win in a
Warren?
fight?
Have you ever met Elizabeth Warren?
I have to think about that. I don't think so.
You didn't. If you did, would you ask her, I don't even know how to say this. This story is so ridiculous.
What do you mean? Just get it out, Tim. Just get it out.
On the plane to New Hampshire the night of the Iowa caucuses, Warren said, quote, "Everyone comes up to me and says, I would vote for you if you had a penis."
Oh yeah, I did say that. Yeah, that now that you remind me, yes.
I didn't even know.
But everyone was saying it.
Yeah, because everyone was saying it, so I just, of course I'm going to follow the crowd.
Yeah.
You're not going to not say it to Elizabeth Warren.
I just think this is such a weird statement. Like, what
did she say this in the context to?
It's like she's trying to assert patriarchy and misogyny or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Instead, she just makes a nonsense
right.
statement. I'd like you all to just consider this for a second. She said, "Everyone," it's a quote, "everyone comes up to me and says, I would vote for you if you had a penis." That means there are old women going up to her and going, "I'm a big fan of Elizabeth Warren. I'd vote for you if you had a penis." I really don't think that's happening. I really don't think just everyone. So like an 18-year-old guy walks up to her and says that to her.
Well, you also see this though with, and this might be to give you, I'll throw you a bone in. This is a little identitarian, right. Even though it's about gender, because they're trying to act as if your reproductive organs are the only difference between men and women. Like this, the physical external attributes are the only difference whatsoever. There are no biochemical differences. There's no spiritual differences. There's no physical differences other than that which we can see.
Imagine if you had, in your local community, there's a very serious problem with pickle jars.
Okay. All right.
Right. Well, then
I am Polish.
Well, there you go.
Yes.
And now it's someone might actually oppose with Warren and be like, "I'd vote for it if you had a penis," because. Can she open pickle jars for the public?
Tap it with a spoon.
No.
Can't tap it with a spoon.
Yeah. Well, you remember Hillary. You remember Hillary's the Picklegate, right?
No.
The Jimmy Kimmel. You don't remember this?
No.
This was the whole. Okay, so in 2016, Hillary's health was the big meme, and everybody kept saying, "What's up with Hillary's health?" And then there was the problem with Hillary's stools. And because Hillary would always appear on stage with a stool. So we were talking about hashtag Hillary stools. Hillary stools are appearing everywhere. Whenever Hillary appears, Hillary's stool will appear with her. And then everybody was saying that she can't get through an event without having to sit down at some point. So she goes on Jimmy Kimmel. Man, people forget how crazy 2016 was. She goes on Jimmy Kimmel and he kind of brings all of this up and says, he goes, "Madam Secretary, would you open this pickle jar for us?" And then she does, and they make this big meme out of it. But then it comes out that the pickle jar was actually pre-opened.
Of course.
Even before she did all this.
Yeah. Serena Williams.
It was a staged, yeah.
I just want to get to the point where she opens the pickle jar. Where's the pickle jar?
It was a rigged pickle jar. It was rigged, Tim.
Look at that. Oh. Look at she looks like Bilbo going for the ring.
This is how crazy 2016 was. I'm telling you guys.
Same haircut.
Yeah.
Like if you weren't around for the Great Meme War, and salute to the Great Meme War veterans out there, if there's anyone's in the chat, You know who you are.
Yeah, you guys nailed
07 or 07.
You see, this is the fake news at play, because in this country, and we have a serious issue with pickle jars that are tough to open. They staged a pickle jar opening to convince the American people Hillary Clinton was the right person for it. But you know what? The American people saw through the lies, and they knew she couldn't actually open a pickle jar. Probably because she collapsed on the side of the road and had to be thrown into a van.
No, this was before the collapse.
That's what I mean.
This
Eventually, people were like, they saw her just
3 weeks before. Yeah.
This
is also a strange way to be like, hey, it looks like you're having trouble. You might have weakness in your legs. You're getting fatigue. Please open this pickle jar. Like, they should have done the whole interview standing if they wanted to dispel the rumors. But instead, they're like, let's test out something else. Like, I don't understand. If you go to the doctor complaining of heart pain and he checks your ears and he's like, well, you're not deaf. And you're like, cool, so I'm fine. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. I was going to say in response to the Elizabeth Warren, why she apparently didn't get elected. Serena Williams announced this week that she is like open to retiring. And in part
I thought she did retire.
She is still playing. I think after this season, she's going to retire. Oh. She said one of the big things was, one of her lines from it was, if I was a man, I wouldn't be writing this. Like, her career, because she's talking about having more kids and, there are like some other factors in her life. She's over 40. I think that a lot of women are told that your problems come from not being a man. But I think what actually the problem is you're being pushed into careers and into lifestyles that don't allow you to be female, right? Like, I didn't vote for Elizabeth Warren because she didn't have a penis. I didn't vote for her because I don't believe in what she believes in. But she's told, actually, if you were a man, you would have gotten elected. If she were a man with the same principles, I still wouldn't have voted for her.
Yeah, she still would have got thrown under the bus. Like,
I didn't vote for her because she sucks. I'm not voting for Dr. Oz because he sucks. I don't care if he's a Republican and a man and all that.
And has all the right parts.
Like, they just suck.
So who are you going to vote for then?
For that one, I might write in my dad like I did when my.
And then what happens when Fetterman wins?
Then is he even alive? Right,
yeah.
we haven't seen this guy in 3. He hasn't been on the trail for 3 months.
Oh, he was sick. He was like seriously.
He
had a stroke.
Yeah,
he stroked out, and he has not been seen in public for 3 months.
Well,
no, but he says he's fine. He says he's recovering.
He cuts these videos, and he's like, "You want to talk about health? Let's talk about Fetterman's health." This guy, like, he'll do these videos with his wife, where I guess he's at his house, but when he talks, it's all wrong. The speech is all disjointed. He does not seem well.
Can you open a pickle jar?
John Fetterman, open up a pickle jar or else resign from the race immediately.
Yeah, but I want to test that pickle jar first.
Yeah, we need it. Yeah, Ian's going to test Ian will be the pickle jar tester, the official one of Pennsylvania. I'm appointing you.
What we'll do is we'll go to a supermarket.
Yes.
Ian will choose the pickle jar off the shelf at random.
That's right.
And then hand it to you.
But we have to we have to check it though, because sometimes little kids.
How do you do it?
Sometimes people do it.
Yeah, dogs with good senses of smell.
To check
smell
the
vacuum. Yeah, make sure that it hasn't leaked bacteria and everything. Make sure it's still fresh.
You just check the top. You press the top.
Yeah, you just check the top.
Yeah, but it goes.
My concern with this Elizabeth Warren thing, I've been thinking a lot about hyperbole. I feel like, especially with us doing a show, like being, displaying journalism and stuff, it's real important not to be hyperbolic. The term "all the time" gets used, unfortunately, way more frequently than I like.
You see it get used all the time.
Yeah, I almost said it. You see, but I'm trying not to be hyperbolic. This is Elizabeth Warren saying everyone comes up to me. That's hyperbole. Some people probably have, but not everybody. And it's like, we don't need to prove to people with zeal that everyone and everything, all that, like, we made it. Now we just got to be honest and be accurate.
Wouldn't she have been flying to, was it Iowa, on a plane with the rest of her campaign? So is she saying all the members of her campaign are coming up to her being if we'd vote for you, but
not only that, but we're talking about her primaries. So she's talking about Democrats.
Let's be fair too. Obviously, when she's saying everyone, she doesn't mean literally every single person, of course. But even when we take her statement at face value, it's still insane. That, okay, obviously not her staff, obviously not every single person she meets, but that there are women and old men who are like, well, I wish she had a penis. Like, I really just don't believe that at all. And it's no surprise that Democrats do.
Well, it's kind of like, you also wonder if there's an element of projection here where people are saying things to her, but in her mind, she keeps thinking that over and over and over because that's her biggest, she thinks that's her biggest challenge.
I think
she's told that over and over again. That's what I think is the problem. A lot of women are said like, well, the thing is, if you were a man, opportunities would be different for you. And that's just like, in some ways you could understand the logic, but it's not the reality.
Let me explain to the ladies the problem here. You see, when you get anti-meritocratic hiring practices, like in California, did they pass a law a while ago? It's like the board has to have a woman on it or something like that.
Yeah. You're seeing this everywhere.
Right. So you'll end up, I've been in meetings like this, and you have people, I've been in meetings like for documentary production stuff, and there's some women, brilliant. And they'll say like, here's my plan, here's what we're gonna do. And I'm like, wow, that sounds amazing. Like right now we're working on a documentary with a woman, and it's some of the best I've ever seen.
Look at Alex Moyer.
Yeah, I'm like, this is great stuff. But then what happens when you go into these meetings where they've hired a woman to fill a quota, and then everyone's talking and they're like, if we're going to sell more widgets, we need to improve the widgets. And then the quota, a hire, individual, regardless of if it's a woman or not, but a lot of women will say something that's totally out of line, out of context, or doesn't align, and people have nothing to say but, okay, that won't work. Okay, but let's try something else. And then they go, I'm the only woman here, and they're telling me my ideas are no good. It's because I'm a woman. And it's like, no. It's because you weren't qualified when you were hired. There are plenty of circumstances I've been in where people were all qualified, and some men weren't qualified, and they were brought on because they were the son of somebody or something. I've been in a ton of meetings where it's like, I'm like, why is this guy here? And like, oh, well, his uncle works.
Which is, and by the way, if you are, speaking of female director, Amanda Milius, right? So her father is John Milius, world famous director, Red Dawn, Conan, Rome, so much stuff, Apocalypse Now, and a great writer as well. But she's had to, come out on her own, but she's never come out and said, Amanda's a friend of mine, but I've never heard her once say something like, oh, well, I'm a female and you should let me have this, and oh, my dad is so-and-so. It's like, no, it's, I'm going to do good work and I hope you watch it. The end.
It's interesting. I was just thinking about being an actor. The only time I've ever really been typecast for something is when I'm acting. And it's like, they're like, hey, we need a blonde male that's 28 years old. I'm like, well, that was me. That's perfect. So I understand now Hollywood is so identitarian, and you see such nasty propaganda coming out of that, because that whole industry is built around identity and about finding someone to fill the role for the character type you're looking for, not for who's the best. Unfortunately, sometimes you get the best actor put into the role, but way too often. So that entire industry is brainwashed to think this way, and then they affect TV and movies, and then that affects politics.
I think it'd be interesting if we just started being like, hey, look, like, you're okay, you kind of have a background in whatever our company's in, but we need a woman to sit at this table. So we'll just pay you a bunch of money to hang out. Maybe don't talk that much. Like, do you think anyone would ever be like, okay, sounds good. I've got a family at home. I'm just trying to hear
free money. Why not?
I don't think that sounds horrible.
No,
it doesn't. But what this is all running up against, and the idea of a meritocracy runs up against what is essentially the civic religion in the United States, and that we aren't allowed to talk about the fact that people are different, that people have differences, that some people are smarter than others, that some people are more qualified than others, that some people are able to perform physical tasks with greater ability than others, et cetera, because we have this idea that everybody has to be the same, and that if someone's a little bit different, don't say that because you're going to hurt their feelings. And this is essentially the civic religion in the United States at this point.
This is the way I put it. Imagine you're on the third floor of a burning building, and there's thick black smoke filling the air, and you're crawling on the ground, and then all of a sudden the door slams open, boom, right in front of you, and you're like, oh, save me. And then as the smoke clears, a 5'1", 100-pound woman says, I've got you. I'd be like, oh.
Situation not bussin'.
But now imagine the same scenario, and the door gets kicked in, and a 6'6", tall, super ripped, pure muscle guy goes, I got you. You'd be like, yes. Me? I would beg for a large, powerful man to be on the other side of that door, please. A large, handsome, chiseled, bearded man with bulging muscles to save him.
Specifically handsome.
Yes.
He doesn't want an ugly guy to save him.
No ugly guys. No. My point is, like, I don't care. Save me. Give me function. I don't care as long as it. Look, it could be a massively overweight guy.
Wait, hold on though. But you're so. Okay, totally got me on that one. But you know what they're trying to add this to now? They're trying to bring this, non-merit hiring into airline pilots. They're trying to push this now in and saying it's not diverse enough. Well,
it's because they can't get anybody.
It's not female enough. It's not, they don't like they want more, racial and ethnic quotas aren't enough. They're pretty soon they're going to say it's not LGBT enough or whatever. They're going to start adding things that dilute the pool of our airline pilots, which is just a job that obviously needs to be the person who's best for the job. Period. No questions asked.
Jack, I'm sorry. That was incredibly bigoted of you to say. How many of the airplane crashes have been piloted by females? Huh?
Not enough.
Not enough. Overwhelmingly male. There's actually a joke about the
look up the Navy.
The combat death gap. It's like 98%
well,
male.
Go look up
like
what is it?
Some gaps we don't.
That's always really bothered me that not enough women die in combat. I don't understand why you guys aren't letting us serve our country the same way.
Hey man, you see those videos where
how many oil rigs and miners
sewers.
The thing is, the oil rig would be much prettier if you let women on it.
Maybe, but there are those videos where women were reacting to the Senate trying to put women in the draft. And they were like, I didn't know feminism meant that. No, stop. Let me just tell you something, guys. Real quick. The military in this country is struggling to recruit. And you know what that means? It means draft. So if something really crazy does happen and we get a World War III or whatever, they're going to be drafting you. And ladies, that means you too. Equality, right?
This is why I was against feminism always. If I get drafted because of feminism, I'll be really mad.
What is this? When's this story from?
The 1990s.
Oh, the 90s.
Oh, what's the story?
Yeah,
the first female combat pilot died?
I wanted to double check it. I was about to say U.S. Navy. This happened in the Navy. The very first, and I was like, I'm not going to say this before I'm going to pre-fact check myself. I'm going to pre-bunk this.
Pre-bunk.
The first combat qualified female naval aviator actually did die in a plane crash.
I watched Top Gun. There was a lady in that plane, bro. And she did a good job.
See, here's my problem with Top Gun Maverick. The biggest problem with the movie that everybody seems to have missed, and I don't get it, is that the movie takes place in a country that doesn't exist. Because it's as if the 80s never stopped and the 2000s never happened. Yeah. And if the 2000s never happened, then sure, you could have Top Gun Maverick. But they did happen. And so that military doesn't exist anymore. Especially with the Navy after Tailhook.
What does that explain?
So Tailhook was this idea that there was this conference and they busted a bunch of people. NCIS got involved, and you had sexual harassment claims, sexual assault claims, many of which were true, by the way. But the Navy's response to this was, we are going to basically de-testosteronify the entire force. And anyone with, people get sensitivity training, and we have to integrate the genders. Not long after that was Kara Holmgren was pushed in as the first female aviator. And eventually we're at the point now where you have women serving on submarines, which never happened before. And this huge push against basically anyone who had that sort of, the reputation of the Navy, right? The reputation of the sailor who's got the girl in every port and who's getting drunk when they pull in for, a port call or something. And they wanted to do everything they reverted the force or reoriented the force completely away from that towards this sort of the 90s modern male kind of image. And you still see that today. And you see that all the way up to outside the Navy, but the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Milley, where I don't know if you saw his draft resignation letter.
He was like crying as he wrote it. There's teardrops on it.
It was, and we did a dramatic reading on Human Events, but where it feels like I can't allow the military to be like this. I can't be a part of this. You are politicizing the military. You are using fear, and I will no longer be a part. And I'm like, this fear? Is the you're using fear and ire, and this was. Do you even understand why World War II happened?
Why didn't Trump fire that guy?
Because I don't know. Trump should have fired all of these people. Fauci on down.
Yeah, he's naive. He
just get rid of him.
I don't know, man.
I feel like if anything, that Trump came into the situation thinking that it was like, Eisenhower. that it was the 1950s, and when I'm the president, bam, boom, snap my fingers, something happens. This thing gets nuked. These troops get pulled out from here. This guy goes and gets blown up. That things just happen because you're the president and you order them to happen, without realizing that there's this layer now. There's this layer that's called the administrative state. And you can use whatever, you can call it the deep state, you can call it the bureaucracy, whatever. The idea is, though, that, and you go back to Woodrow Wilson because he laid this all out, exactly how he wanted to institute it, that when the Darwinists first started coming up, when they said, we have organisms, we have survival of the fittest, we want the state then. So Wilson reads Darwin and says, we need a state that is operating under this model of survival of the fittest. And because the founding fathers didn't know about Darwin, they didn't know about the voyage of the Beagle, they couldn't possibly have understood the importance of the survival of species and the importance of the survival of the fittest. And so we need a new form of a state. We need a state that is organic, that exists outside of the branches of government, outside of Congress, outside of the people's representatives who are elected. And so they came up with this new bureaucracy. The bureaucracy, which we can see nowadays, is tied into academia, is tied into education, it's tied into corporations. And you see this idea of the expert class, which is tied in. This is how you get, by the way, an Anthony Fauci, who's an unelected bureaucrat who has power over our entire country, and all of the people of Congress and many of the people of the White House completely just divert everything to him. And this happened in the Trump White House for a very long time. Now, eventually, people like Scott Atlas and others got in there. Peter Navarro was a big part of this. Of course, the FBI is going after him as well. And that's what they're trying to do. So, Ian, and we were talking earlier about this idea that can the president declassify anything? I mean, that very question is the way they want you thinking. They want you thinking that the bureaucracy has power over the president, and that the president is only given his power by, the largesse and the generosity of that. No, absolutely not. Our system is that the commander-in-chief is elected by the people. He has the authority, and they have their authority because of him. This is why, if you saw the Schedule F story that Axios was talking about, Trump is talking about that if he gets reelected, he wants to set up a situation where he can just directly fire anybody in the federal government and completely flip this axis on its head.
That sounds good.
So this is Leviathan, and Huffington Post was going after me for calling this, but they didn't understand what I was saying because I said Leviathan has woken, and they said, "Oh, Posobiec saying Kraken." He said they put up like a picture of me, giving like side eye to something, and said that I'm calling for war and all this, and I said, "No, you don't understand. I'm referencing Hobbes." Right, so Hobbes wrote the Leviathan. The Leviathan is the state, is this all-powerful super state, and these people that have been not elected, not transparently or openly put into positions of power by their people as their representatives. They just exist because of their connections, because of their ties, because they have, quote-unquote, the right credentials. The opposite of a meritocracy.
You get a good donation to somebody.
And donors,
make you an ambassador.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah, I got mixed feelings on the can fire anybody at any time clause of section, what's it called, Section F? Is that
Why?
Oh, because if you get a crazy tyrant in there and they want to fire everyone and then put cronies in, that's also a risk.
Well, you still have a Congress.
Yeah, the executive branch should be under the command of the executive branch. The idea that we elect the person to run the executive branch, but then bureaucratic civil servants block that. Like the fact that Donald Trump was like, I want to get our troops out of Syria, and this, and then this, who was it? It was
McMaster,
who blocked it and said, and then lied about it.
Right.
So that's a problem. That's a big problem. We, the people, said this is the guy for the job. And
they do all this in the name of democracy, by the way. That's what I love. Rating your chief political opponent in the name of democracy.
I think that Ben Franklin would be horrified at the amount of unelected power in the American government.
I agree.
Now.
Yeah,
I completely agree.
All of the founding fathers.
All of them.
In fact, if we attached a turbine, to the graves of the founding fathers, we would solve climate change overnight.
We'd have enough power.
Yeah, all the Tesla. Everyone would have a Tesla after that.
Yeah, every car.
Okay. Spinning body power.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, so you think we should? I mean, do you think a president could actually get away with firing everybody, or would they be like, actually? In theory, yes, you can fire everyone, but
why shouldn't he?
Oh, I mean, de facto, do you think it would actually happen, or do you think someone would assassinate the guy?
Well, I mean, just from a practical perspective, I mean, you'd have to do rolling firings, right? You wouldn't be able to get rid of everyone in the U.S. government at once. Sorry, libertarians, by the way.
I mean, you technically could.
But I do think
it's outcome you want.
I do think it's funny that you get these when they do the government shutdowns and everyone's like, "Oh, the government shut down, and then it's like, did you notice?
Yeah, right.
Like, did anything actually meaningfully?
All it meant is that
happen.
People in the army aren't getting paid.
So how would you prevent if we were to do a rolling fire of a lot of the administrative state for something like the Ba'ath Party not to happen again? How when we went into Iraq, we fired a bunch of Saddam's old party, and then we said you can never work in politics again.
You've got it backwards. We've got the Ba'ath Party now. That's the administrative state now.
That's my concern is when we got rid of the Ba'ath Party, when we fired them all and said you can't work in politics again, they kind of joined the Taliban.
Hear me out. You buy Greenland. You transfer them all to Greenland.
Well, how do we stop them from forming like an underground political movement is my question.
What do you mean they've done that?
But they're the ones in charge right now. And so, when you're looking at Mueller, she wrote, and you're looking at the resistance, and you're looking at the attorney general just came out and publicly stated that he ordered a raid on the former president's personal residence. That's the situation we're in right now. Yeah, I
just want to stress,
and these people didn't bat an eye; they cheered it.
This is something that in other countries people have explained they've fled the country over.
Oh yeah.
When an administration comes in and then starts arresting and raiding the homes of their political opponents, there are people who are like, that's when I decided to leave the country. And it's like we're all sitting here like, well.
So if you're in like a post-Soviet state or Venezuela or Cuba or parts of the Middle East, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's normal. Yeah, well, we know what's coming next.
Right. Like if we were to fire, or if the president were to fire this modern iteration of the Ba'ath Party or whatever you want to consider it, like what would stop them from forming an underground political movement of violent extremism like the Taliban? Because that's what they did in Iraq. They just kind of joined the Taliban.
Well, we're not Iraq.
Yeah, it's very different here. I think the bigger issue is they'll do what they're already doing,
which is controlling weapons.
It's
and money,
collusion, things like
contact
that.
all their foreign.
I would start with
hey.
So you start with the SES level, so that's senior executive service, and then you just go down the GS list: GS 15, GS 14, GS 13. Just go all the way down. And for anyone who's not politically appointed. So first of all, when you're coming as new administration, you've got to get rid of all the political appointees. That was something that Trump didn't do the first time around.
Obama did it.
Of course, Obama did it. And then and they yelled at Trump for starting to do this. No, get rid of all the political appointees, whether you're the secretary, the assistant secretary, the DASD, whatever it is, gone, all of you. And then everyone else, switch them over to Schedule F and basically have them come in. And it's like that scene in Office Space. Explain to us why you should continue working here.
Kurt Schlichter said that same, very similar thing.
Kurt's great. I love Kurt.
And then
he's wrong about DeSantis.
So as the president, would the president be the one that
he loves him.
Oh.
Is the president the one that would be listening to everybody that comes in? Is this like, or would he appoint like people to listen? And
how amazing!
There would be a process. There would be a process of consultants. What would you say you do here?
I got it. I know how we can fix the budget deficit.
Yes.
Lower the national debt.
Yes.
And get rid of the bureaucratic state.
Yes.
We film Donald Trump reviewing each employee. And then we do like,
and you charge subscriptions.
We do like a court show music, like dun 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 dun, and it's like Jerry Smith is the senior accountant in, for the IRS who's coming into Trump to justify his position, and Trump's sitting there and he's like, so what do you do here? I've been here for 5 years. And then it's like you go to commercial, and then we do promos, make a ton of money.
Dude, cut
and then
taxes.
It ends with Trump, you're fired. Boom. And then they'll do like a rubber stamp on the screen.
I like
that. So you
that.
just add a button next to the red button. It's like, I guess, black, right? So the black button would be you're fired.
So people pay $10 a month to watch, and then we can cut taxes because we're making the money through subscriptions, through voluntarism.
Yes.
Okay.
A White House like streaming service where Trump just fires
everybody
people.
would watch that.
The White House needs a streaming service. Yes, please. That would be
this
so
was something
interesting.
that during the administration and Scaramucci, actually, when he was there, something that he had suggested, something that he had pitched to the White House was you should run this like a reality TV show. And I had said that from the start. I know Cernovich said that. We were telling them just have cameras in here all the time, or as much as possible, that it won't, you won't get you into like legal or actually obviously classified information. But all of those little scenes, I remember they did this really early on, and you would see, Ivanka would go in and then the grandkids would be there and Trump just kind of hanging out with them, because the biggest issue with Donald Trump's candidacy and just whatever you call his public image right now is that they paint him as a monster. They do the same thing Alex Jones. And the way that you fight that is you show the humanity. You show the human side. You show them with their family. You show them with their grandkids. Show Alex with his kids, and just bring the camera in. Jackie Onassis did this when she was the first lady, and it was one of the first times anyone had ever actually seen what the inside of the West Wing and the residence and the East Wing and what all of this was like. The more you show of that, then it won't matter what crazy things they say about you, because people can see it with their own eyes.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's I talked to a lot of people about the ad stuff that we've done, and I don't understand why.
Well, yeah, I mean, I like what you guys do here,
but I don't understand why more people don't do just like engage the traditional spaces, take them over. Like Daily Wire obviously gets it.
Yeah, Daily Wire, they do a great job of this.
But there's a lot of independent and right-wing media that revel in being outsiders that are not a part of the system, and I'm like, you need to be. Like, you need to go in there and then just be the thing and convince people this is normal. What we're doing is the thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's something that over at, so we do Human Events daily through Turning Point USA, and there's a bunch new shows that are coming out there. There's a new talk show called Rent Free. There's a great show called Reloaded coming out. It kind of got revamped. It was more of a talk show at first. Now it's going to be more of like a Pawn Stars type show. Paige Rue's hosting that. We have Politics. We have Spillover, Alex Clark. And it's just this idea of creating your own content, whether it be, and you can break the fourth wall. You can be normal. You can have conversational shows like this and just have normal people having actual conversations instead of the pre-scripted, talking points or the screaming matches and the debates that never really seem to go anywhere. You can do that. And that's how you can bring together people from different sides of the aisle, different sides of the country, wherever, and actually have a conversation.
Yeah. That's what you need to do,
I was picturing like in the White House, you hear people in the hallway talking, kind of like The Office. There's
Imagine if Trump had a
talking.
podcast in the White House.
And you'd see people talking, and then you'd hear like, what? No. And it's Trump yelling from the other room, and the people are like looking at the camera. That would be the most entertaining stuff. Even
Literally
the people that hate him would love to watch that
He'd
stuff.
make a ton of money.
Yeah.
Imagine if they funded the whole U.S. budget off of just like a reality TV show about Trump, because everyone in the world wants to watch it.
You easily could. There's
no
bigger
dollars you need.
There's no bigger rate. Well, you'd have to cut the Fed at that point. But hey, Bannon just went out at CPAC and said, and you don't usually hear Bannon say this. He comes right up to it, but he finally crossed the line and said, "End the Fed."
That's
he said,
impressive.
Don't audit it, abolish it. And the CPAC crowd at the Cattleman's Ball donor dinner in Dallas, Texas, applauded abolishing the Fed.
So he said, don't audit it. That's interesting.
Don't audit it, abolish it.
A meme I saw, I love it. And it says all roads lead to, and it shows all the roads coming to one, like all these streets.
Yeah,
and right
yeah.
in the middle says Ron Paul was right about everything.
Oh, I saw that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you put that Ron Paul poster outside my door last
What?
week? I opened my door and it was Ron Paul standing in front of me, this giant life-size poster of him.
Hey,
Someone
Ian,
slid it over.
That was actually me.
Oh, nice job,
Sorry.
Chris.
Well, there's that great Ron Paul clip when we played it on the show earlier this week from 1988. And he's talking about the FBI, and he points out, he said, we didn't have these things, prior to World War I.
Yeah.
These are not, longstanding American institutions. And, to everybody out there who's a fan of like Scully and Mulder and Booth and Bones and Mindhunter and whatever, Criminal Minds and all these different shows, that ain't what it's like in real life. We're seeing what it's like in real life right now.
So, Civil War?
You're talking, of course, about the Avengers series, right?
Yeah. Avengers, Civil War.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So what's next? What's next for this great nation? Pickle jars, presidents, Biden gets another 4 years, or what? What are we doing?
Debt recall? What do you
Can
guys
we have
think
Biden
about
go on Kimmel and do like a math test or like a reading test? See what happens.
What
would you have him do?
Remember that thing that?
Breathing test.
Remember
Counting
that?
sheep?
Remember
No,
that
the-
test Trump took, the cognition test,
Yes.
or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that.
Purple monkey dishwasher.
Is that what it was, or what?
No, it was like circle, hammer, alien. Yeah.
And Trump was like, "I did it so well. I did it better than everyone.
I have the
Everyone
best
agrees."
cognition.
We're
And
coming
it's just
up
so
on
bad.
we're coming up on Biden's 80th birthday in November. We're waiting for his health report too, right? His doctor's supposed to release one every year, I think.
Yeah, they're gonna come out and be like,
He's great. He's in great health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's too good of health, actually. He's too healthy. We need him to slow down and take a break and maybe go home for a little bit and have some Cheetos or something.
But that's exactly
Back
what they
to
did.
Delaware.
That's exactly what they
No.
did. It look at the timing though of the Mar-a-Lago raid, right? Biden gets kind of pushed off the main stage. He's gone. Kamala Harris nowhere to be found. And then all of a sudden this raid just comes out of nowhere. Absolutely out of nowhere. You wake up, I guess the news came out the middle of the day on Monday of this week, and Trump broke the story, actually, funny enough. Or not funny enough, you know anything about the guy, that he says they're raiding Mar-a-Lago. And of course, the same way, by the way, Trump is the one who actually broke the story that Trump's campaign was spied on. That original tweet, I just found out they were tapping the wires in Trump Tower. Now, wasn't directly correct about that, but he's pretty close in terms of what they were doing. In fact, it was actually worse because they had spies inside his campaign.
It's almost like Trump was never really the president. And what I mean by that is the institutions and the bureaucratic state sealed him off from as much as possible so that he couldn't do anything.
Well, have you seen Yes Minister? So the entire plot of Yes Minister is basically what we're talking about. And it's this 1970s sitcom set in the UK. And it's this new government comes in and they want reform and they want transparency. And they say, we're really going to change the way things are around here. And we want open, and very first episode, just give you an example. Very first episode, they say, we want reform, we want openness, and we want transparency. And of course, all the other main characters are members of the bureaucracy, or the civil service, as it's called in the UK. And so, permanent undersecretary and these different things. And, they've all got their great titles. And they say, okay, so you want reform and openness and transparency. Okay, all right, great. And so they go leak his schedule to like the local tabloids, and then of the minister. Yeah. And then he goes, wait a minute, why did you leak my personal schedule? Everyone I'm meeting with is out here. Well, you said you wanted openness and transparency. Yeah. We're just giving you that. There you go. And then so every episode is him trying to do something, but those guys just screwing him over.
Right. Pictures of his butt.
They can do anything.
You said a couple. What was that? I'm just thinking, hey, transparency. You want to see it all? Let's start with your butt. So you said a couple episodes ago that you thought if the Americans went off the U.S. dollar as the world currency, it would be just tragedy. I think you alluded to it. Maybe I don't want to put words in your mouth. But
well, no, I think that people talk about ending the U.S. dollar as if it'll be painless, and I just don't think that's true.
I've been thinking a lot about a debt recall right now because Tim asked earlier, what's next? And other than like, okay, well, we got to fix the economy. That's what's next. But how? A debt currency recall where like for 2 years you have the opportunity to turn your Federal Reserve promissory note in and you get back like 80% of the money you turn in. And it would scale up. The more dollars you turn in, the less you get back. Does that
But who's going to allow that?
Yeah, then the people with all the dollars in the Cayman Islands or in Panama are going to be like, well, I can't even acknowledge that I have these dollars, so I don't want this to happen. The Federal Reserve's not going to want it to happen.
No, they will continue. So we're basically at the point, and you saw this bill, this Inflation Reduction Act, which spends.
Well, why would they need an inflation reduction if there was no inflation?
Because there is no inflation, right?
Why didn't they just call it the deflation?
That we're basically at the point where they're just raiding the Treasury, where they kind of know that the whole thing is going to fall over. So it's about how much money can you get out before the whole thing just collapses. And so that's what this is. It's just handouts to all their buddies, handouts to the unions, hands out to the donors.
They're stealing the silverware from the Titanic as it sinks.
Yes.
And then
that's why I'm saying, like, El Salvador? They recently introduced Bitcoin and everything's been going really well for them.
El Salvador, the U.S. government wants to install a little freedom down there.
Install a little freedom?
Yeah, here comes
Costa Rica.
The bald eagle.
That's why they're installing a little freedom down Mar-a-Lago way.
Yeah.
Installing freedom.
Iraq's free now, and so is Afghanistan.
Very free.
So they want to indict Trump.
Oh, yeah, of course.
They actually, and to go back to what we were originally talking about, they actually want to indict Donald Trump.
They tried to, and they wanted more than impeachment. They wanted impeachment and conviction, and they couldn't get it. So now they're going this route.
And I just have to keep saying, and I'm sure there's not many people that are, in the Biden regime that are watching this. But if you've stumbled in here, please don't do this. Please, not from a perspective of, I'm worried about, his legal chances or anything, because it's a joke, right? It's obviously a joke. None of this stuff applies to the president, but you are putting this country on a terrible path, and I don't want that to happen to my country. I really don't.
I just think about all these historical stories of prominent, charismatic individuals who get locked up, and then when they get out, take over, and it doesn't go the way these people think it's going to go when they arrest them.
That happened to Hitler. That's really concerning.
A lot of people, not just him.
We have two doors right. Napoleon.
Yeah.
We have two doors right now, right? And one door is it's the republic and it's the rule of law and it's the Constitution and the way we've been doing things. And the other door is just it's raw, naked power and Bolshevism, just straight up Bolshevism. And you're looking at a situation where very similar, and Mystery Grove, who I've talked about here before, outlines this. And if you read Always with Honor by Pyotr Wrangel, he writes this in the fall of Imperial Russia and the takeover of the Bolsheviks, that it wasn't like this immediate thing. And so there were reformers that went throughout the society, and they were saying things like, well, these violent criminals, we shouldn't just be locking them away. We really just want to reform them. And prison is actually the wrong place for them. And so what we should do is not lock away the violent criminals, but just try to find special ways for them to have programs for reform and then reintroduce them into society, right? But if you got caught with a knife, well, you're going away. You're going down. And that was 100 years ago in Russia. We're seeing the exact same things come out here in America.
I've been thinking about a mass pardon that I think maybe is the only way forward. And I'm talking about like the last 200 years of crap, all of it, just nonviolent. So this is the question we talked about last night a little. Like, you pardon everybody. Joe Biden for his misdealings in Iraq, fine. Hillary Clinton for getting us into Libya and working with Sidney Blumenthal's Osprey Global Solutions. Barack Obama. You want to talk about George Bush's illegal war in Iraq, lying to us about weapons of mass destruction.
Why pardon any of those people?
Because I want the people from the January 6th thing out of prison now.
Yeah, but
call it hostage
transfer. Why do we have to trade hostages? Like, this seems like the most terrible.
But hold on, like Joe Biden's corrupt, Hillary Clinton's corrupt, Barack Obama's corrupt, George W. Bush is corrupt, Clinton is corrupt, Bush Sr. is corrupt. I'm fine with all of them being indicted and held accountable for everything they did.
Yeah, but we're like on the sideline, like it's a game. That's not how power works.
What do you mean, like it's a game?
Well, it's not like you can't just like, oh yay, clap, clap. The leaders of the power are now gone. Like that's not how power works.
But you're also suggesting pardoning people who have actually harmed other people. Like, how would you feel if you were like, well, this is what we have to do? Like, you were directly impacted by one of their decisions, and someone else is like, well, but this is how we start over. We're just going to pardon everyone. Like, that doesn't seem like justice to me, and it doesn't seem like a long-term solution. You're just going to put a vacuum in where someone else comes in to be corrupt and do the same thing.
Maybe, but I'm not condoning future crime. If someone does it in the future, they're going away.
Why? You pardon everyone else.
There's one thing. It's not about everyone being like, we're going to pardon everybody. That's not a sign of good faith at all.
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
No, a sign of good faith would be if Biden came out and said, we're going to be releasing the January 6th defendants because we're trying to make things
but what I don't want to do is like, oh, you did that? Now I'll pardon you, Joe. It's not a tit for tat. I'm not playing that game. I'm just tired of
saying not to do. I'm saying one way to de-escalate things right now. If Joe Biden came out and said January 6th was abhorrent, but we're seeing dangerous escalation of the rhetoric between what was described as the left and the right, and as a sign of good faith, I want to pardon these men.
Wow.
And I want to ask for forgiveness and find a way for this country to move forward.
Whoa.
The right would have no response other than thank you.
Yeah.
The left would be like, aren't we noble and gracious?
Yeah.
It would just be like, oh, okay. I mean, wow, thank you. Yes.
Or by the way, if Biden could just say one nice thing to the mother of Ashley Babbitt.
Seriously.
How about I'm so sorry that happened. That was a crazy day, and I'm sure your daughter meant well, and things got completely out of hand, and I'm so sorry that you lost your daughter. That's all he has to say.
It would
cost him nothing.
Ian's brought up Shays' Rebellion several times, where it was John Hancock, right?
Yeah, Hancock was the governor. I think it was Massachusetts.
He pardoned all of these people, except for a couple of them.
400 farmers. They didn't have the money. So the IRS is going to start going to people to get tax money that they don't have. They're going to be throwing people in jail. It's going to be similar to Shays' Rebellion.
Whoa, they didn't talk about, I read that description. It did that, the job description did not say anything about throwing people in a jail.
They didn't put that in the job description.
It said shoot to kill.
Let me explain something to everybody. They keep saying in the media the IRS is not going to audit lower income people, and they are correct. The IRS is not going to audit lower income people. They're just going to send you the bill. This is what people don't get about taxes. The narrative is cleverly manipulated by the Democrats, who are like, no, we're not going to audit you. Don't worry. And they go, oh, okay, you're not going to audit.
Because that's a formal audit.
Because what the IRS does is 3 months after you file, you get a letter in the mail saying you owe us $2,796.23.
Yep.
You can pay it here. There's no audit. They just tell you owe them money.
Right.
Are you going to call a lawyer? No. Bro, if the IRS can add 87,000 people, all they have to do is send a letter to every tax-paying American, you actually owe us $10 more. And what are you going to do about it? You're just going to give it $10.
Or you're not if you don't have it. And that's what happened with Shays Rebellion is they didn't have the money. They just didn't have the money. And so they didn't pay. They were going to seize their farms. So they went to the to the courthouse and did basically a January 6th on the courthouse and said, no, you're not taking our farms. A bunch of people went in prison for years. Eventually, John Hancock was like, we're tearing the union. What happened was the local police wouldn't stop the farmers. They're like, no, they don't have the money. So they called in the state police to take care of them. The state police didn't know who they were, so they threw them in jail. Then Hancock was like, it's the only way forward is pardoning and moving forward. We can't.
If Joe Biden pardoned the J6 defendants, it would be his popularity would probably skyrocket.
I think that would be a great move towards de-escalation, but there is one other way that doesn't even involve pardons. If
you can resign.
If you want actual de-escalation in this party and in this country, I think actual de-escalation, we can get de-escalation. If everyone would just get the best night's sleep in the whole wide world with MyPillow.com promo code POSO, then you've got the toppers, you've got the sheets, you've got the pillows. Then when you wake up, you get the slippers. Now we have the My Coffee, MyStore.com promo code POSO. Think of it. Now you can be awake as much as Mike Lindell.
Ladies and gentlemen, this entire episode was a setup for Jack to do a commercial.
I really appreciate you because we went over the scripts.
Scripted it.
So much beforehand. And that was actually the end of the script. So we have a little bit of time for like super chat.
What are we talking about now?
Before we move on, I want to talk about how important rest is for the human body and that getting a good pillow might actually be a great idea.
Yeah, Ian totally missed his line on that.
Particularly from MyPoso. I'm sorry, I'm getting this all wrong.
Oh, my
MyPillow.com. Where do I get one of your...
Can we cast a new Ian, Tim? Can we cast a new
my
Ian,
head's all,
please?
I've
been asking you for weeks now.
Pardon them all. No. So I want to figure out, is authorizing violence the same as doing violent? Is that violent crime? Authorizing a violent crime?
Wait, what?
I'm done with this guy. Let's just move on. What's next?
Wait, no.
We got super chats coming.
We are not authorizing violence.
No, like George Bush authorized people to go commit violence. If that violence
You're talking
was
about marked reprisal. Like privateers were told by the crown or by the government, we're fine with piracy.
Yeah, and they kind of washed their hands of it. So
until a certain point when they pulled the letters of marque and then said, okay, you're all outlaws now.
When it became
that's how privateers became. That's how the actual real life, the pirates of the Caribbean became pirates. They were all working for the British to begin with to go after the Spanish galleons because the British said, well, we don't want our Navy to do it. You guys just go do it and we'll let you do that and then keep whatever you want. So they did that, but then the war ended, and then they said, okay, if you continue to do this, you're all criminals now.
Wild.
Yeah.
Crazy days. All right, let me see. We're having this weird problem where YouTube keeps crashing.
I'm looking forward to
at the same time every day too. All right, we're going to go to Super Chats. If you haven't already, would you please smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and share the show with your friends. Check out the uncensored Timcast IRL stuff Monday through Thursday at 11 p.m. over at timcast.com. And check out Tales from the Inverted World. Cast Castle will be coming up next week, Tuesday. This time, for sure. And then it's going to be every week, so we're going to have a lot of fun. It's going to be really funny stuff. We filmed with Jack today. It was good stuff. I won't spoil anything, but...
We didn't film that. That was real.
That was real. You're right. We filmed with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Zuby, and we're getting a lot of people involved and having a good time.
Do you film with Santorum?
No.
So funny backstory. My first ever job in politics was field director for Rick Santorum, 2006.
Oh wow!
Look at that.
There you go. All right, Raymond G. Stanley Jr. with the first super chat says, "Poso the MyPillow like button."
I just need a button. So a button in front of me that well, how does that work then? Do I buy you the pillow? No, you buy me the pillow.
We should get you
buy yourself the pillow.
We should get you a stream deck.
Yes.
With one button.
Yes.
That plays a sound bite that when you press it, it says buy pillow.
Buy pillow.
Buy pillow.
Buy pillow.
Buy pillow.
Buy pillow.
So I noticed that Raymond G. Stanley Jr. took the MAGA out of his name, and I just wanted to mention MAGA month ended. July is over.
I was pretty sad to see it go.
Yeah. Well, so I changed my profile pictures back. I got an angry email that was like, you only cared about MAGA for 1 month, and then you changed your profile back because you don't care about America. And I thought it was funny because the point of the joke was to mock the people who claim to care about a cause, but then abandon it right away.
Right.
That's why I was like, oh, it's a month's over. Like, the American flag's out now. But whatever.
I looked at it like Christmas, right? You celebrate Christmas in December, and then you put your decorations away.
Yeah, I like leaving the Christmas lights up till like July, maybe all year.
Well, we do the whole Christmas tide. So we do Little Christmas. So we take them down, which is actually January 6th, which is old Christmas.
Oh, wow.
And then because my wife
is
so my wife is Orthodox, so we actually celebrate both.
Oh, wow. All right, Logan Roldan says, just built my new bed in my new rural town in eastern Oklahoma. Glad I got out of that hellhole state of California. And holy ish, gun law is not a thing out here and can buy my drum mags.
But do you need pillows for your new bed?
Oh, that's
probably does.
Probably does. Yeah, that sounds awesome.
And a topper and sheets and all the rest. We really do use them, by the way. Oh. Get Tanya on here some night. She'll tell you, we got rid of all the pillows. She got rid of all the pillows in her house and was like, I want all pine pillows.
I bought the slippers.
You got the slippers?
Those were legit.
They have all seasons slippers now.
Oh.
So because people kept saying that they were wearing them outside. And then, so the idea was, well, we need to make them just a little bit more rugged so that you can wear them outside. And that's the new all-season slippers.
Legit, I will say, whatever's inside them is the fluffiest thing I've ever
what
stood
makes
on.
them so good?
It's actually clouds and dreams that you're just walking directly on them.
The coffee thing, though, it's like everybody's selling coffee these days. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it really is. It really is like everyone's doing coffee all of a sudden.
Is there like some like conservative coffee company that's like sourcing for all of these people who are selling coffee?
So I ran into Mike at CPAC, and I don't like text him every day like I'm sure everybody thinks. In fact, they sometimes some of my MyPillow ones, they're like, hey Jack, that might be a little bit close to the edge, you know, like we got canceled enough places already, you know. But he said he's going to send me the coffee.
Oh, we got a good one here. Stephen Bordelmay says, all this talk of civil war is making me lose sleep. If only there were someone that could tell me how I can get a good night's sleep, that would leave me speechless, like Michael Knowles' book.
Ah, very good. It was
a turnaround.
It was like a double. It was a turnaround. Yeah.
I love how there's like the sponsorships have become memes. How it's just like people were memeing Michael Knowles' book to get me to read it.
Yeah.
I was funny because like every time I'm reading a super chat, I'll explain this. So for those that aren't familiar with the meme, when Michael Knowles' book came out called Speechless, people would start a super chat by saying like, Tim, what you said about this was so profound, it left me speechless, like Michael Knowles' book. Or they'd be like, Donald Trump came out with these powerful words, and when he said this, I was left speechless, Mike. But the thing is, I'm like,
and then his book went #1.
It did. But like, you're giving me money, and I'm reading it, it's funny, and then Michael Knowles is selling his book, I'm like, this is a win for everybody.
So this is actually something that I think coincided with a few multiple, you know, multifactorial kind of moment where up until a couple of years ago, it was this idea that everything on the internet is free. Everything on the internet is free. We don't want we don't like the paywall. We don't want something. But then with the rise of the content creator, it became this idea of, well, if I support my creator, my favorite creator, if I support someone that I like watching or I like reading, then I get more of them and they get to continue to do what they do. And so, and you know what, $10 a month isn't that bad, right? And so you now see people that are so much more willing to do that than they ever were before.
Right. So we got John Kirsten says, with Hannah Claire and Ghost Girl as regulars, I no longer care Luke went for cigs and never came back, or that potato guy being gone.
Good. We don't need them.
Luke went for cigs and never came back. That's about right.
One Friday.
Just another
and then
Polish
Seamus
guy.
Just disappeared one day. We don't know what happened. Just one day he was here, and then he was gone.
That's how leprechauns work.
Oh, I've got my intel on Seamus. Don't worry.
On Seamus?
Oh, I've got intel on all of you.
We're waiting for everyone to come back. Everybody to come back.
Then we'll all sit at the chair at once. We'll just rotate around the room.
All right. Let's see. Caleb Cass says, if the Senate doesn't pass the budget next month, the health and climate bill gets no funding. But they're going to. Why wouldn't they?
Yeah, I mean that stuff is it's all going to get passed.
Yeah. I like how the left is making fun of they're making fun of Bernie. There's a meme going around on leftists where it's like Joe Manchin smiling saying co-wrote or co-sponsored one of the most comprehensive climate bills, and then Bernie like got nothing passed in 30 years. And like I saw that and I thought it was hilarious.
5 mansions.
Does he have 5?
He might be up to 5 now because he did vote for the Inflation Reduction Act. He voted for the spending bill.
All right. Excuse me, says Ian, tell Poso how you want to let Dem politicians go free from prosecution for betraying the American people and Republicans. Well, I think we
got into that.
Part of it is I think that a lot of their crimes are being just dismissed right now. People aren't really acknowledging some of it. So if we pardoned them, then we would at least acknowledge it, which is like the best I think we can get.
Rebel Without a Cause says, hi, I'm the journalist known formerly as Tim Pool. Since changing my diet to keto, I've also changed my name. I am now Slim Pool. Oh, there you go. Slim.
And by the way, for the record, I'm pretty sure Garland's going to get impeached.
Oh yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene filed articles of impeachment.
So she filed it, but this isn't
not going to be until January.
This isn't one of those ones where, you know, it's like you file it and then it just sits there, but it's a big press release and, you know, nothing really happens. No, he's getting impeached. He's absolutely getting impeached in the new Congress.
What do you think the hard charges are? What are they impeaching him for?
They are going to charge him for corruption. They're going to charge him for completely unconstitutional action. They'll find a direct charge, but this raid on Mar-a-Lago has turned so many people that were independents, that were moderates. We're hearing it from donors as well, saying, you know, we thought Trump was just being, you know, off his rocker. We thought he was crazy. We thought some of these things that he was saying were nuts. And you just raided Mar-a-Lago.
They just proved him right.
Like, you just proved him right. So it means that Trump will probably be the nominee now, right? There's like no question about that. And he's at this point, and I said this on Twitter the other day, Donald Trump will be the next president of the United States.
All right. Jacob Cahill says, today's my 38th birthday, and I can't think of a better gift to myself than a shout out from Tim and the gang. Thank you for creating the best live journalism show in the world. Much love. Happy birthday, Jacob. Thank you for watching and supporting the work we do.
Nice job,
Hope you have a good birthday, man.
Somebody buy that man a pillow. My pillow.
Buy him a pillow. I'd say buy him a drink for his birthday, but a pillow works as well. Seth Hauser says, after everything the Democrats have done, there should be no pardons for these criminals. They have done too much damage. If they go to jail, so be it.
I mean, keep in mind that, look, I just sat in the courtroom when Steve Bannon was on trial for this paper argument that they were having, about, which was also about separation of powers, this executive privilege. They put him on show trial. They may put Steve Bannon in jail over this. And so this is my response to Ian is they're already putting Republicans in jail. That's how bad this is.
Mandalore Wise says, main reason I think the Cincy thing was a false flag is the claims that Viva Frei told him to be violent.
So
go guard Mar-a-Lago. Anyone who watches Viva is calling BS. So
that's just false. Viva never said that.
Viva like passively read a comment where he's like, oh, I guess people are going to Mar-a-Lago. And then this guy posts like Viva Frei is saying things are happening.
But if you watch the actual clip, and so USA Today wrote this this attack piece on Viva because the guy referenced him. And so they said, oh, this guy said he heard it from Viva Frei, even though he didn't go to Mar-a-Lago, which was what the whole thing was about.
Yeah.
And if you actually watch the clip, and Viva has this up on his timeline, he said he's reading this comment, and then he says, oh yeah, you shouldn't do that. Don't go down there. So he even says it that's a bad idea. Don't do that. It's just
weird smears.
But they cut that off.
Man, weird.
They smear what they fear. What they fear.
Yeah. Waffle Sensei says, Ian, it's not that JFK's brain was officially recorded as missing. It's just that the brain that was included in the autopsy report was virtually undamaged. Make of it what you will. It's creepy.
Okay.
Wow.
I don't know about all that stuff that happened before I was alive.
Like maybe it wasn't his brain, I think was the theory.
No, I was just in Dallas and I didn't go to the grassy knoll.
Oh, have you been there before?
Have you been to the Sixth Floor Museum?
Negative.
It's great.
I haven't spent much time in Dallas.
Oh, Dallas is super cool. I love Dallas.
I was there. It was CPAC, work.
When you CPAC, it's hard because it's just like you have to be somewhere all day long. But Dallas is a really great city.
Elijah Schaefer's show. But you televiewed him, didn't you?
So I've done Elijah's show in person in the past, but then I was down for Better Discourse, so we had to go straight to that. And then when I did Elijah's show this week, that was from here, from DC.
Got it.
And for some reason, they made me look like this golden bronze Adonis
God?
kind of thing.
Well, it's hard not to.
Going on.
I mean, look at yourself.
Yeah, no. Right. Well, for here, we apply the filter to make me look human.
You were the fireman that Tim wanted earlier, right?
That's true.
6'6".
Tim was talking about me.
Kane the Fourth says, need Liberty Prime if a war with China comes. I'm a big fan of Liberty Prime.
What is that?
From Fallout 3, it's a giant robot that the Americans built to fight communism. And as it's activated, it's just like, communism is bad, or yelling something like that. It's funny.
Taiwan should just start mining the straits.
Waffle Sensei says, I think the best course for China and Russia, who have been using ideological subversion to get us into civil war, is for Russia to fund the right, China to run the left, and both fund our destruction. So this was a Russian state TV said, their pundits said that a civil war was probably coming, and the only question is which side do they fund and arm with weapons? Who do you think? Who would Russia give weapons to? Obviously not Biden. If a civil war broke out,
no, they give it to like pro-communist. Russia and China would work together, and then you'd have Europe working against.
We don't have to consider this because we just found out that there was a Russian-backed group down in Florida that just got totally rolled up, and it was a group of black separatists.
Oh well, this is a good one. Selrin says, Jack,
completely Russian funded.
Jack, could you talk about Pizza Hut nationalism? I've been thinking about it a bit recently. How can we get back to those days?
We've talked about that on the show before when I was on. I think that
they had a salad bar.
Yeah, so you had the salad bar. You had this idea that Pizza Hut wasn't just a place that delivered pizza; that it was actually a communal space where you could go and spend time as a kid. You had Book It. And then I had taken my kids to a Pizza Hut near where we lived, and it was atrocious. It was dirty and disgusting. And
if it's a standalone building at all, at this point, they're just like...
We're trying to get out of there.
It's a strip mall. Mm-hmm. Pizza Hut today is a strip mall. You walk up, you open the door, there's like 2 chairs, and you order the food and you leave.
Well, so it was an old Pizza Hut, which is why I initially had thought it was a place you could go and sit.
Let's bring it back. Let's make our own.
Let's do it.
We'll do it out here.
We'll do it.
We'll call it Pizza Shack.
Pizza Shack. Done.
Yeah.
Done.
And well, you had that idea. Salad, and
you had that idea before. Do you remember your idea about? I forget if it was a hotel or a hangout spot, but it was like the different living rooms from different eras.
Yeah.
Do you remember this idea?
So an idea I've had for a while is to. I mean, maybe we should just do it. And this is something that we might need like an investor for and a developer. You get a building and you create. You get 1-bedroom apartments. And you can get maybe, what should we do? Should we do like 6 of them? And you go in one and it's the 1990s. Everything in it will be stocked from the 90s, TVs from the 90s. When you turn the TV on, it's
90s TV.
It's pre-programmed with like a specific date from the 90s, maybe like 1992 or something. Then you've got the 80s room, the 70s, the 60s, and the 50s.
Did 92 have Urkel? I want Urkel.
I don't think it had Urkel. 92.
92. I need little family matters.
No, I need Urkel.
Wait, so what is this? Is this like a museum or is it like an Airbnb?
Airbnb. It's a hotel.
It's like a hotel.
The idea is that you could book it's a theme hotel where
boutique hotel.
Yeah, you'll be like, I want to be in the 90s, and you'll go and there'll be like a radio. You'll turn it on, and we'll just pre-program everything to play on a loop. So it's like live streaming, basically.
If you order room service, do you only get snacks prepared from that era?
Yes.
That's right.
And when you open the fridge, there will be like leftover with the same box from that era.
You could just call it eras.
Yeah.
Eras.
We'd be sold out every night. I guarantee
100%.
it.
Oh yeah, it'd be like a different hotel every time you went.
I got to imagine there's got to be a place in Vegas like this.
It would be.
Have they not done this already?
I want to want to be able to be like, I want to spend the night in the 70s.
For example,
there's like a vinyl player and there's like
look at 50s diners, right? 50s diners are everywhere. Everybody loves these things. They're still popular today. And the most popular ones are the ones that best recreate the 1950s experience.
Yeah. And then, but you'll also have like entertainment and news. So like if you're in the 50s place, you can turn the TV on and hear about like the politics of the day, civil rights, stuff like that. The 60s, there's the moon landing. In the 90s, you have the fall of the Soviet Union. Or you can just watch the Honeymooners or something. It'd be cool. You like turn the knob on the TV.
Or if you go to the 40s, there is no TV.
Right.
It's just radio.
No TV.
Yeah. And then is it kind of like after 2000, like society just homogenized? And
no, man. Like you go in the 2000s one and they're going to have like...
Avril Lavigne.
Yeah, Avril Lavigne. It's going to have all that stuff. It's going to have like a poster for Final Destination or whatever. And that's the movie that's on TV. And then we just have one room that's like a normal hotel room for today.
Confirmed Steve Urkel was definitely around 92.
Really?
Yeah, you're going to get your Family Matters fixed.
Wait, I mean the person or the show?
Well, Family Matters, the show.
Okay.
89 to 97.
Family Matters started in 89?
Yeah. Wow.
What's that theme song?
We got to do this. So I have no idea how to start a hotel, but it's an idea. So someone should do it because I'd love to stay there. I don't know. Right?
We'll totally do that.
Amazing.
Yeah, 90s, and you've
no, but for real, hey, we should do a Pizza Shack.
You've got
Big League Chew in the 80s one.
Nintendo 64 all over the place. They've all got GoldenEye. Because what other game is there?
Yeah, GoldenEye.
Yeah. No, but for real, we should legit.
Donkey Kong Country
I was talking about doing like a sandwich spot or something. Let's make a building like it's a rectangular building. You go in, it's got booth seating, it's got the pizza bar and salad bar in the middle. And we'll do a reading program at the local school.
And if you're a local Little League team, maybe you get a discount or you eat for free
all that
or
stuff.
All that stuff, yeah.
We'll contact the local schools and we'll make our own book program.
Yeah.
Well, all of that stuff. The teacher will be like, read the book, and then you can get the thing and come in for a pizza.
Instead of book it, we could call it book 'em.
Book 'em. But it is my thing. Like, you know, you talk about Pizza Hut nationalism and what we lost.
Right.
They were communal spaces. You went there when you would. I remember you get the wheel or whatever for like reading books, and you get like a free donut, and you get like a free slice of, like a free personal pizza.
I read all those books too.
Yeah.
I always read those books.
My friends would be there. I'd show up. I'd be like, oh, it's my friends from school, because when they were handed out,
because they were there too.
That's what we need to bring back, man.
Communal
Have you
spaces
heard about my idea for Saturday morning cartoons?
Negative.
So we're looking for venues right now in Eastern West Virginia. I love saying that.
Yeah.
Well, what we want to do is like gaming, skating, hangout spot, just whatever. But then on Saturday mornings, we want to play cartoons so that parents can bring their kids to hang out. There'll be like a breakfast buffet with like sausage, eggs, bacon, pancakes, waffles. And the parents can hang out and talk to each other in the morning. And the kids all get to, you know, play games while watching these shows. And it's a way to create kind of like a secular community event, because it used to be the church. And I was like, not everybody goes to church. Some people still go to church, but a lot of people don't. Let's bring people together with Saturday morning cartoons.
Not bad.
And then it's also because
it also doesn't conflict with church.
Right, exactly. In fact, many people might actually meet people there and then decide to go. Or the big issue is the parents are involved in the content the kids will watch. So it's like you're not getting any of these weird shows from Disney or something. You're getting like the approved shows.
I always love those goofy cartoons from like the 60s and 50s Disney, where he's like, there's the narrator talking, like, and then he walks to figure out how to dig a hole.
That's hilarious.
One shovel thing at a time. Have you guys ever seen those old? Fantastic Disney.
No Saint says Tim should do one segment every day using a VTuber model. Then he could have a fan art tag on Twitter. Yeah. What if I had like an anime waifu VTuber, and then I used a voice changer and just did a normal segment? So it was just like an anime waifu with like a sexy female voice telling you the news. I bet it would make way more money.
People keep asking me for, I keep getting hit up by these freaking weebs, man, and they all want My Pillow waifus, and it ain't happening. It is not happening. No, weeb, go back to your crawl spaces.
I don't know, man.
Every freaking day, man.
Okay. El Rojo Grande says, Tim, it seems pretty obvious to me what happened here. Trump declassified those documents, as he said. The Biden admin probably reclassified those documents to use a pretext to attack Trump.
Is that,
it's not.
Is that allowed?
Works. No.
Okay. I don't think that makes sense.
That works.
I think they're just fishing.
You can't triple stamp a double stamp.
You can't.
You know, it's like I'm sorry. We're gonna push our entire republic to the precipice of civil war over an argument about document markings. Really, because we know that's not what this is about. Right?
No,
can we just drop all that?
I think they want Donald Trump to not be able to run for office
It's
again.
right. When you said de-Bathification, when you reference that, that's exactly what they're trying to do. They want de-Trumpification. Anyone who's associated with him, anyone in his family, anyone who gave him money, anyone who voted for him, anyone who's a public supporter, they want you gone. They want you erased.
It's tantalizing, but reference the Ba'ath Party becoming the Taliban or joining the Taliban as a result of being barred from politics. Don't do it again, because history does rhyme.
Right, but which is different from the deep state, though. If you're a bureaucrat, maybe you should be elected. Maybe you should have to go through some kind of public process to get these. Why shouldn't Dr. Fauci be someone that's subject to public review?
And a freaking term limit, man, of some sort.
Yes. Chance Terry says, Jack, Tim, many thousands, including myself, are facing discharge over military COVID vaccine mandate.
So Trump has talked about this.
Please be our voice, because we don't have one. We need your help. Our readiness is being decimated.
Trump has said this straight up, and that's the one thing where you have to say, like, if the vaccines are your issue, or if you have someone who's in your family, if it's you, right? He's the only politician that I've heard anywhere in America, just total free money, say, if I'm elected, I will reinstate every single one of these members with back pay.
Wow.
And by the way, I would also say, because if you're on the enlisted side, you have time and grade promotions. I would hope that he would also add the time and grade promotions along with that, because we treat our troops like trash over this, like straight up trash. You joined the military, you raised your right hand. I'm a veteran. You raised your hand and you said, I will do whatever my country asks of me. And then we're going to knock you out because you don't want to take something. No, it's one of the most just disgraceful moments of our entire. I mean, it reminds me of some of these, the bonus army and some of these things. Even though the bonus army was kind of a commie plot, but it's how can you treat actively serving members of our military like this? I don't understand it.
Simulation says, in response to drafting females, aren't a majority of military roles today support roles and non-combat roles? Is it a majority? There's a lot.
I mean, I'd have to look at the numbers for the Army. I mean, certainly in the Navy, right? Or the Air Force, right? That's why they call it the Chair Force as a joke. Not knock on the Chair Force guys, but obviously the majority of people in the Air Force are not pilots.
Right.
So the idea then is, is everyone going to be in a combat role? And that's kind of the thing. People think of the military if there is a job in the real life, I guarantee you there is a cognate to that job in the military.
Caper 2X says, Jack, the female aviator died when her Tomcat lost an engine landing on the carrier. She waited too long to eject to give her WSO time to get out.
It was crazy.
I mean, but that sounds more like she did something heroic, right?
God bless her.
Yeah.
Mechanical error, not pilot error?
I don't know. Probably have to look into that story.
Didn't the CDC just relax all these guidelines on COVID? So does that not kind of maybe a indication that people are going to be let back into the military, that the mandates are going to be lifted?
I don't know, man.
I mean, you haven't seen much self-awareness from this regime whatsoever. They don't care, right? They actually don't care that they've changed what they said. Denmark, by the way, just dropped the vaccine for under 18. So yeah. Denmark, they're doing away with it completely. But you're not going to see any of that in the U.S. They're not going to apologize for anything they've done. They don't think they did anything wrong.
The other part was that thousands of military service members applied, they were told, if you apply for religious exemption, if you apply for medical exemption, we'll consider it, and their applications were rejected. They basically were told, we don't actually believe you. We don't believe that you hold these, it's of your values that you don't think this vaccination is something that fits with your religious practice. Like, that's a very hard pill to swallow, to be told that we respect and defend religious freedom, except if you enlist in the military and you don't want the COVID vaccine. It's just crazy.
All right, Stephen B says, I'm a subscriber but never watch the After Hour because I don't want to watch it on my laptop. Is there an app or something which it can be accessed on TV? If not, is there something in development? There is something in development. It's just... I
would love an app for that.
Yeah, so we are working on, they're called OTT apps, over the top.
Yeah.
We want to get them on every TV, every smart service, and every phone. And want is, it's a powerful word. Doing, yes, but it requires being able to hire a bunch of devs, finding good devs, getting the work done. We hired some people to start working on development, and then they abandoned it, and then the whole thing went sour. So we are, like, it's one of the top priorities that we have. Because I tell this to Daily Wire guys too, like, dude, I need your app on my TV so I can watch it. Because I don't have Roku or anything. I just have a smart TV. Mm-hmm. I turn it on and I'm like, I want to watch Daily Wire's movies. It's not easy to do, unfortunately, because I'm a fan. Same is true for us. We're working on it, and hopefully soon. But I don't know what soon means, man. But it is a top priority for us, for sure. The Jaded Kriegsman says, I think the problem is that a lot of civil servants who view their job as being to advise on policy and not make policy. But the people who get promoted into management roles view themselves as policymakers and act as so.
Yep. Yeah, look, I was intelligence on the civilian side, and 100%. They believe they are the expert class. They believe they are the ones in charge. They believe that they are the ones who have the authority, and they're not. They're absolutely not. That's not our system. That never was supposed to be our system. And for anybody out there who's currently serving and you do see both, right? You do see both in the GS, and he's 100% right, that it does come down to the management versus the employees. That if you're in the leadership track, you view yourself as the policymaker, and you go them and, I'm going to tell this congressman, I'm going to tell this president what they should do, as opposed to actually obeying the authority and just having respect for the authority and actual respect for the chain of command. Because when I served, I was under Obama, right? But it didn't matter. You still respect the chain of command.
All right. Bobcat says, Tim, do you remember the pizza buffet at Pizza Hut? That dessert pizza is something I would invade an entire country again to bring back.
Which country has it?
We can do a gag. Like, I'm legit about. I really would want to open a pizza place like this. Finding a building and everything, I'm totally down for. And we should totally do commercials where it's like we invade a country to bring back the Pizza Shack nationalism.
Or can we invade the past?
Yeah.
Can we
get a time machine.
Yeah, we get a time machine. Everyone's like, what are you doing? What's happening? Stand back, citizen.
You got to go. You guys say something like, "It's gone wrong. We have to go back."
It's all go wrong. You have to go back.
I'm here from the future for your pizza.
Where we're going, we don't need rolls.
Then we bring back the building, I guess.
We bring back the dough that didn't have potassium bromate in it.
Well, you'll be driving around.
Better ingredients, man.
Yeah, well, you'll be driving around now, and you'll see former Pizza Huts with like different color schemes and different names on them. But you look at it, and you're like, "That's a Pizza Hut, man. I don't care what signs on there. That's a Pizza Hut."
My favorite Pizza Hut fact is that it was started by 2 Irish brothers who had never had pizza. I find that hilarious. Oh yeah. They'd never had pizza. It was like a trendy food. It was coming over, but it is not authentic. It's either Pizza Hut or Domino's started with a French bread recipe. That's what they made their crust from.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I could see that for Domino's.
I just want to let you guys know. Like, I am very upset with how Papa John's treated Papa John. But if you look at the ingredients of Domino's, Pizza Hut, and Papa John's, no questions, Papa John's ingredients are all way, way better. No, seriously. I think Pizza Hut puts Splenda in their crust.
Oh.
Fake sugar, like fake sweetener. Weird.
Jeez.
You look at Papa John's ingredients, it's like wheat, water.
Did you ever hear the story about his car?
Yeah. We had him on the show.
Oh, yeah, right. Obviously.
Found his car again. Man, that's
I love that story.
Amazing.
I love that story about him because I get that. I totally and it wasn't he didn't settle for the same make and model or even the same way. He said, "No, I want the car."
He sold his car when he was starting the business to pay for it, and then he bought it when he succeeded.
But he found it. He tracked. I think he put up like a bounty for it basically, and then somebody tracked it down, and then he bought it off them.
All right, let's grab one more here. The Bahamian Rainman says, "Tim, I'm reading about how Sean Hannity is claiming that even if Trump goes to jail, he can still run for POTUS from the clink. Mr. Posobiec, do you know anything about this?"
I mean, okay, from a legal standpoint, if you want to get into that, so the Constitution doesn't say anything. It is silent on the question of can a person who's been convicted of a crime run for president, right? It's not in the Constitution. There are specific qualifications that are laid out in Article 2, and it doesn't mention anything about crimes. Again, because the founders trusted the people of the states.
But there is, in the 14th Amendment, I believe, if you wage insurrection,
but you can be convicted of a felony and run for president.
So charge him with insurrection.
In most states, I think every state, you can't be convicted of a felony and run for state office, but you can run for federal office and be convicted of a felony.
And this, by the way, that's another kind of back end thing they're trying to do. If they can't get him convicted, they're going to try to get him off the ballot anyway, or can't get him in prison. And just keep in mind that all of these, kind of scholastic arguments about this whole thing, I think, Tim, you're right. I think that this gets crazy way before it gets to that point, and I really don't want to go there.
All right, last one. AC Yor says, "I want a Donald Trump My Body pillow."
Does it have to be an anime? My body? No. You know what? No.
Just regular Trump giving a thumbs up.
Nope.
All right, everybody. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, share the show with your friends, and check out timcast.com for our After Hours Uncensored show Monday through Thursday. We are working on TV apps and a mobile app so it's a lot easier. We've been meeting about it consistently. We had an app in development. It fell apart and the company fell through. It's not easy to just build a company, but we're working on it. We will be there. We will get there. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL. You can follow me at Timcast. Jack, you want to shout anything out?
Just Human Events Daily. So we're coming up on Real America's Voice. Very excited to be there, be a part of that team. Of course, it's available at Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Just broke back into top 10 of all Apple politics podcasts. We're really excited about that. And, you watch us. We had the IRS story a week before anybody else did.
Wow. Right on.
I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for timcast.com. You can check me out there. I post almost every day, as do a number of other great writers. I highly recommend it. You can follow me on Instagram at hannahclaire.b. I don't remember my social media handles. hannahclaire.b. Thank you guys so much.
Ian Crossland from iancrossland.net. Get through to me on social media, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Minds, Instagram, and Jack. Good stuff, my man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm into like a Donald Trump body pillow. Hey, special shout out to Chris Poole. Holding it down.
Hey, I'm Chris. You can follow me on Twitter. Thanks for watching.
All right, everybody. Can you just pipe down, man? What is this guy's deal?
All show.
What is this guy's deal?
All show. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. Go to chickencitylive.com. Watch our chickens sleep. They're having a good time. We're probably gonna start eating them soon, but only the ones we don't like. We'll save the other ones. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see y'all next time.